Shorty, when you giving a toast, just remember me, though. Got you, though, and I came through with that amazing ego. Sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster leaning up. And we ain't coming down, see on my face that smile, see on my head that crown, top of the world, top of the town, baby.
I moved up the hood that had the church on the corner where I sit and talk shit all day cause I wanna. And on top of that, wasn't none of y'all gonna do nothing but keep running your mouth and keep frontin'. Go ahead and say something, I'll wait. I ain't gonna wait too late, cause in a minute I'm escape. Cause there is no debate, no it's not an option. You gotta keep cock watch.
Sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster leaning up. And we ain't coming down, see on my face that smile, see on my...
I'm from 140th and Lenox. I am from NFL, up the block is 40 Wolves, Lou Simpson's on 142nd Cross Square, D. Ferg on number 8th Avenue. I don't see you around none of this. Not from none of that.
That if you didn't have strong dudes around him, you'd have had cats like the Lynch Mob. You'd have had cats like Preacher. You would have had cats like the 40 Wolves. You would have cats like Niggas for Life. Dudes who was really in the streets like that.
It's Harlem, but I ain't gonna lie, Sugar Hill is really 40th to 55th. Yes, we're gonna do a walkthrough and show you like who's from what block.
Oh, 140th.
40th to 55th. Yes, we're gonna do a walkthrough and show you like who's.
Go all the way. D-block, baby, I'm back and I'm balls. And I'm off of that sauce. I'm getting money of course, but I'm never ever think of taking a loss. Shorty sipping that crystal, so shorty started buck wild. Shorty knocking buck wild, so you know niggas dicks out. She taking them down, all the way down. She be taking them down. Now if you follow me, I will follow you too. Now if you follow me, then I will follow you too.
Just dropped, and it shows Black Sam and Snoop Dogg in serious tension. But this isn't the only confrontation Black Sam's been involved in. He also had a moment with Rockstar 2800.
Disrespect, bro, when you in that prison, you better smack.
So what has Black Sam this fired up? It all ties back to Nipsey's death. Let's get into it. The shocking confrontation. The wild situation between Black Sam and Snoop Dogg caught everyone off guard. But before we break that down, let's start with what really kicked things off, the incident at Marathon Burger. All right, so peep this. On April 17th, 2025, this footage started making rounds showing Black Sam at the grand opening of Marathon Burger, a business venture continuing Nipsey's entrepreneurial legacy. In the clip, Sam is seen confronting West Decrypt rockstar 2800. The energy was intense, and Sam was not playing games.
Demonstrate for hustle. This is what I'm telling you. Don't come over here. Don't come over here trying to. Then guess what? Go do something and come back.
According to sources who were at the event, Black Sam made it crystal clear that anyone who wasn't taking action against those disrespecting Nipsey's name and legacy needed to bounce. Period.
Disrespect, bro, when you in that prison, you better smack.
This wasn't just some random outburst either. Word on the street is that Black Sam was essentially going off on rockstar 2800, who's been linked to music executive Whack 100. It's not news that there's beef between 100 and Black Sam since Nipsey's death, and Whack has been talking smack about Sam looking mad serious, standing on business for his brother's legacy. Now here's where things get spicy. There's deeper reasons why Sam was so heated, and it all connects back to Snoop Dogg through this whole complicated web of loyalty, respect, and street politics. Aside from Whack 100 talking smack about Nipsey, Black Sam also appears to have beef with the former due to his affiliation with Snoop Dogg, and this has to do with something most casual fans might not know about. It all started from a situation involving Big U, also known as Eugene Henley. For those who ain't hip, Big U is a major figure in LA's gang culture and music scene with connections to both Nipsey and Snoop. According to multiple sources, Big U and his associates allegedly had a confrontation with Nipsey over a track back in the day. This created some tension that never fully got resolved before Nipsey's passing. And apparently, Snoop's continued association with Big U after Nipsey's death is what's got Black Sam feeling a certain type of way. In the streets of LA, loyalty is everything. And from Sam's perspective, anyone still rolling with people who allegedly disrespected his brother can't be trusted. Clearly, Black Sam seems to feel that Snoop's ongoing relationship with Big U shows a lack of respect for Nipsey's memory. But that's not the only reason why there's tension between these two West Coast figures. This beef got layers on layers, and we need to peel them all back to understand what's really going down. Some OGs from the hip-hop scene been pointing to historical beef that dates back to the Death Row era. Y'all remember that intense East Coast-West Coast rivalry that defined 90s hip-hop, right? Well, apparently some of those old wounds still ain't healed. Suge Knight, the former CEO of Death Row Records, stated in interviews that Tupac tried to fight Snoop Dogg over what he saw as disloyalty. According to Knight, Tupac was heated after hearing a radio interview where Snoop was rivals during that at a hotel where Tupac ran into Snoop's room, ready to throw hands over what he saw as Snoop switching sides. Now, why does this ancient history matter to Black Sam? Because Nipsey Hussle was a devoted Tupac fan who carried on his independent hustler mentality. Nipsey often referenced Tupac in his music and interviews, seeing himself as continuing that legacy of authentic West Coast rap focused on uplifting the community.
In terms of intention, Pac was a street dude, right? And he represented thug life on the surface, right? But you get into the message and his direction, he was really a revolutionary and trying to lead people.
Given this connection, it makes sense that Black Sam would share that same reverence for Tupac and view Snoop's perceived disloyalty as disrespectful to both Tupac and Nipsey's legacies. But wait, there's more to this story. Napoleon, a member of Tupac's group The Outlaws, has publicly criticized Snoop for using false praise to sneak diss Tupac. In his words, Snoop and others acted like they were showing love to Tupac, but were actually putting him down, suggesting there was jealousy involved. Napoleon even claimed in another interview that Snoop was straight up jealous of Tupac's success on Death Row, adding to this whole narrative of Snoop being disloyal.
You, an individual who's the top artist, and then all of a sudden another dude come and take your shine. He's very outspoken, he's charismatic, he's making hits, he's doing movies, and he taking away your shine. I can see so. And the plot thickens. After Tupac's murder in 1996, Snoop's continued association with Diddy was seen by many West Coast loyalists as further evidence of his disloyalty. In the eyes of hardcore West Coast supporters like Black Sam, this kind of flip-flopping looks mad suspect. Now let's fast forward to more recent events. Snoop has been involved in several controversies. Lately, that might have further damaged his relationship with Black Sam. Most notably, Snoop performed at a Trump inauguration party in January 2025, which caused massive backlash from fans who remembered his earlier anti-Trump stance. This kind of political flip-flop might seem unrelated to Nipsey's legacy, but remember, Nipsey was all about authenticity and community loyalty. Black Sam, who emphasizes those same values, might view such actions as inconsistent with what his brother stood for.
mentor. There's also been situations where Snoop has faced legal issues for posting viral content without permission, like that 2021 lawsuit over a protester video on Instagram. While this ain't directly related to Black Sam, it shows a pattern that could clash with Sam's protective stance over Nipsey's legacy and intellectual property. Now let's talk about the actual footage that's causing all this commotion. The content of the beef is definitely real, and the footage shows genuine tension because the beef between Black Sam and Snoop Dogg represents something deeper than just two individuals having issues with each other. It's about loyalty, authenticity, and honoring legacies in hip-hop culture. And to fully understand what's going on, we need to dig even deeper into the history between these figures and what led to this current situation. In fact, here's where things get even more interesting because Black Sam and Snoop actually had a positive relationship at one point. Back in 2020, Black Sam surprised Snoop with a care package from the Marathon Clothing, including a marijuana strain called Uncle Sam OG. Snoop even posted about it on Instagram, referring to Black Sam as my nephew and showing mad love. So what changed between then and now? What caused this relationship to sour to the point where Black Sam is publicly displaying his lack of respect for Snoop? The historical beef from Tupac to Nipsey. To really understand what's going on here, we got to go back to the 90s, a golden era for hip-hop, but also one of the most divided times in the culture. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry wasn't just about music. It was about loyalty, territory, and respect. And at the center of the West Coast movement were Death Row Records, Suge Knight, Tupac, and yes, Snoop Dogg. Now, Snoop came up as Dr. Dre's protege and was one of the first artists to blow up on Death Row. His debut album, Doggy Style, changed the game and sold over 35 million copies worldwide, making him a superstar almost overnight. But when Tupac joined Death Row after getting out of prison, the dynamic shifted. Tupac came in with an intensity that couldn't be matched. He was dropping hit after hit, becoming the face of Death Row and taking the beef with Bad Boy Records and the East Coast to new heights. During this time, according to multiple sources, tensions began to brew between Tupac and Snoop. According to Suge Knight, the real drama popped off after Snoop did a radio interview showing love to Biggie and Diddy, the very people Tupac was beefing with. Remember, this was during a time when choosing sides wasn't optional. You were either with the East or with the West. So when Knight claims that Tupac tried to fight Snoop Dogg over perceived disloyalty, it wasn't about a small disagreement. It was about what Tupac saw as a betrayal of the entire West Coast movement.
Snoop knew one thing. Once it was over, I don't care how many songs you did with Pac. I don't care how many times you talked real bad about Biggie. You came and stabbed Pac in the back, and Pac was not gonna stop.
Knight detailed in interviews how Tupac was listening to Snoop's interview and got so heated that he ran into Snoop's hotel room ready to throw hands. For Tupac, loyalty wasn't negotiable. You couldn't claim to be Death Row and then show love to the opposition. This fundamental difference in how they moved is what started the rift between these two West Coast legends. There was another incident that added fuel to the fire. While Snoop was in New York filming the video for New York, New York, he and his crew were allegedly shot at, an incident that some believe was ordered by Biggie. This should have solidified Snoop's loyalty to the West Coast cause. But according to some sources, it had the opposite effect. Rather than doubling down on the beef, Snoop started to distance himself from the conflict, which Tupac saw as weakness. Snoop himself admitted in a 2019 interview with Angie Martinez that he was on the same flight as Tupac and felt so unsafe that he carried a knife and fork for protection.
Give me a blanket, grab me a knife and a fork, put the blanket over my nose right here, my low black glasses on, and ride like this the whole flight. Hoping one of them come with me so I can stab at everybody on this mother.
Though Knight disputed this claim and Snoop never got on the plane, the story illustrates the level of tension that existed between them. The last interaction between Snoop and Tupac supposedly happened when Snoop asked about going to Las Vegas for the Mike Tyson fight. According to accounts, Tupac brushed him off, and that was the last time Snoop saw him alive. Just hours later, Tupac would be shot in Las Vegas, passing away days later from his injuries. After Tupac's death, many expected Snoop to carry the torch for Death Row and continue the West Coast legacy that Tupac had been so passionate about. Instead, Snoop eventually left Death Row Records and began collaborating with East Coast artists, including Diddy, the very figure at the center of the beef with Tupac. For die-hard West Coast loyalists, this move confirmed what they had suspected all along. Snoop's loyalty was flexible. Napoleon from the Outlaws didn't mince words when he accused Snoop of using praise as a way to sneak diss Tupac. He claimed that Snoop and others would say positive things about Tupac publicly while subtly putting him down, suggesting there was jealousy behind their words. In another interview, Napoleon directly stated that Snoop Dogg was jealous of Tupac's success on Death Row, adding another layer to the narrative of disloyalty. Now, fast forward to Nipsey Nipsey Hussle, who emerged as a powerful voice in West Coast hip-hop in the 2000s and 2010, Nipsey was a vocal admirer of Tupac, often referencing him in music and interviews. He embodied many of the same principles: independence, community empowerment, and authenticity that Tupac had championed. For Nipsey, Tupac wasn't just an influence, he was a blueprint. Nipsey's album, Victory Lap, and entrepreneurial ventures like the $100 mixtape Crenshaw echoed Tupac's themes of resilience and community empowerment. He was carrying on Tupac's legacy in a new era, and his brother Black Sam was right there with him, supporting this vision every step of the way. Despite the historical tensions between Snoop and Tupac, Snoop and Nipsey did collaborate and showed mutual respect. Nipsey was featured on Snoop's 2009 album Malice in Wonderland on the track Upside Down alongside Problem. And in what might surprise some people, Snoop revealed in 2022 that Nipsey actually wrote 10 Toes Down for his 2016 album Kool-Aid, which included 3 verses penned by Nipsey and sampled the 2002 movie Paid in Full. When Nipsey was tragically killed in 2019, Snoop spoke at his memorial service at the Staples Center, describing their bond as one of peace advocates and shared spirits. He later released Nipsey Blue, a tribute song mourning their shared history. Snoop also highlighted how Nipsey's death brought together gang members who hadn't spoken in decades, emphasizing Nipsey's impact on unity within the community. This public show of respect might explain why, in 2020, Black Sam pulled up on Snoop with a care package from the Marathon clothing, including the Uncle Sam OG strain. This gesture, which Snoop shared on Instagram with the caption, "My nephew Black Sam pulled up on me today, dropped off a package at the Marathon Clothing Canna Farms. 818 hash Uncle Sam Og hash TMC," suggested a friendly, almost familial relationship at that time. So what changed? How do we go from care packages in 2020 to public disrespect in 2025? The answer might lie in the ongoing controversy surrounding Snoop in recent years. As mentioned earlier, Snoop's performance at a Trump inauguration event in January 2025 sparked major backlash from fans who remembered his previous anti-Trump stance. This apparent political flip-flop stands in stark contrast to Nipsey's consistent messaging and community focus. Remember, Nipsey was all about integrity and staying true to your principles. His famous quote, "The marathon continues," wasn't just a catchy phrase. It was about a consistent long-term commitment to your values and your community. For Black Sam, who has dedicated himself to preserving this legacy, seeing Snoop seemingly compromise his values for a check might have been the final straw. But there's another critical piece to this puzzle that brings us back to where we started: Big U. As mentioned in the YouTube video description, Big U and his associates allegedly confronted Nipsey over a track. Big U, whose real name is Eugene Henley, is a former gang leader who became a major figure in LA's music scene and community activism. He had connections to both Nipsey and Snoop, but the nature of his confrontation with Snoop has maintained a relationship with association might be viewed as a direct disrespect. The parallel is striking. Tupac felt betrayed by Snoop to play. There's also intellectual property and legacy. Black Sam has been fiercely of since his brother's passing. As the permanent administrator of Nipsey's estate, Sam has been careful about how his brother's image
What you tripping for? If he said something that was outlandish and egregious, don't you think your daughter-in-law, who's a pretty astute woman, by the way, I like her show. I've been impressed by what I've seen her do. And I'm going to go on the show soon. I really will, because I've been asked to. But she's been very impressive. She didn't have a problem with what he said because she knew he was talking about them, not you. A little bit sensitive there, Mr. President. I wonder why. Epstein file, that's what it got you. Got you that fidgety? If so, why? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. It was rhetorical. And I'll leave it at that. Because I got the man on right now himself. The guy you were talking about. The guy you called the sleaze bag with a low IQ. Anybody that knows him wouldn't accuse him of some low IQ. Yeah, some people might call him that sleaze bag stuff. You know, Charlemagne don't play, so he gonna say what he gonna say. And some people might feel that way about him. But ain't nobody gonna question the brother's IQ now. That ain't gonna happen. Well, you heard what I had to say about it, but who better to talk to than my next guest, the man that was verbally attacked by the president of the United States, Donald Trump, the one and only Charlemagne the God, co-host of the popular show, The Breakfast Club, listen, it doesn't get much bigger than them. Over 1 billion views thus far this year alone. Just continuing to do their thing. Author of a couple of books. We'll get into all of that as well. Charlemagne the God is right here with yours truly. What's going on, big time? How are you, man? How's everything?
Stephen A. Smith, what's happening, my brother? How are you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Just struggling with a little laryngitis, but I'm getting better, so I'll be good. Let's get right to it, man. I just want to let you know that in case my voice sounded a little bit raspier than usual. You heard what the president had to say about you. I'm going to read this right here. When you were on Lara Trump's show, all right, My View, just a few days ago, and you alluded to the conservatives within the GOP having an opportunity to take advantage of this whole Trump association with Jeffrey Epstein, somebody he knew for about 15 years or so. Obviously, the president took umbrage to that. And one of the things he said was about you. First of all, he called you a sleaze bag and discounted your intelligence. And secondly, he says he's a low IQ individual, has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth, and knows nothing about me or what I have done. Just ending 5 wars, including a 31-year bloodbath between Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, where 7 million people have died, and there was no end in sight. That's just some of the things that he said. Your response to the president of the United States, my man?
That's his opinion. You know, I'm a person that still believes in the First Amendment. So, you know, we all have, freedom of speech. We all have people to express our opinions about people. And I'm never going to be a person that steps on somebody's First Amendment rights. Unlike the president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, who seems, to be implementing this authoritarian strategy and is using that to silence any voices who speak out against anything that he does. When I was on Lara Trump show, and I don't know if you saw the conversation, Stephen A., I thought I was pretty fair, like I usually am.
I really did. I thought you were very fair. I thought you were very even-handed. You even reminded me of the importance of maybe I should stop calling myself an independent because we live in a binary two-party system where, you say, I saw what you were saying, and obviously it made all the sense in the world, so I wanted to give you credit for that. But what is it that you think that riled him up most? Because he knows what he's done. He sued ABC, he sued CBS, obviously NBC, Stephen Colbert. He's taking credit for getting him, getting his show canceled this coming May. Everywhere you turn, there's something with him and the media. So that's speaking to what you're alluding to in regards to First Amendment rights. But is it that you think riled him up? Or was it the fact that you said that conservatives are positioning themselves to sort of dilute his voice a little bit to some degree and gain some extra power?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of those things. Me, pointing to the fact that he's the one who said on the very first day, I'm going to bring inflation down. On the very first day, I'm going to bring, grocery prices down. And we know prices aren't down and inflation isn't dead. We just saw the job numbers come out was last Friday it was, and unemployment is up. Then he fired the labor statistic chief, who put those numbers out. And also, let's just forget the stats for a second, right? I was in Maryland earlier this year for my daughter's cheerleading competition, right? And people were coming up to me talking to me, telling me how they're losing their jobs, because of what Doge was doing. And like, I'm an ambassador also for the food bank in New York City. I see firsthand how federal funding, being cut for programs like that impact people. So you can't just, throw a bunch of stats out there and tell people things are all good, when they aren't. And that's actually kind of crazy coming from President Trump, because that's the same mentality that hurt Democrats when they was talking about Bidenomics and telling people stock prices are up and GDP is up, but people in the streets are still hurting. You can't keep peeing on people's head and telling them that it's raining. And I mean, that's what's happening right now, from the economy to Epstein.
Well, listen, the economy, like you pointed out, they was rejecting 113,000 jobs in July, and it turned out to be only about 73 to 75,000. So they came up short, and he fires the commissioner for labor statistics. So you were talking about that. Obviously, we hear about the tariff wars, and we're hearing that there's $10 trillion in pledges. You and I are from the same kind of hood, my brother. I guess for me, what resonates with me is that's a pledge. That ain't a guarantee. That could be reneged upon at any particular moment in time. I understand that if it comes to fruition, it will definitely stir the economy in a positive direction. But until it definitively happens, I'm not caught up in promises of manufacturing jobs and semiconductor jobs, and I'm not caught up in all of that. I got to see it actually happen. I'll give him credit for the border because I think it needed to be closed because Biden had it wide open. I don't like the way he's going about it, but I only say that to say, if there's a person, in spite of all the criticism that you may throw in his direction, that would speak favorably about something that he's done, if you believe there is something favorable that he has done, somebody that would say it is you. So as we sit here today, having said what he said about you, is there anything positive that you can point to about the Trump administration in your eyes at this particular moment in time?
I mean, we talked about it on Lara's show. Lara brought up, the border. I am a stern believer in border security. I just don't like the way that he's going about doing it, because he told us that he was keeping the murderers and the rapists, and the illegal immigrants out of our country. Nobody in America should have a problem with that. But when you see, people who are actually, going through the process of trying to be in this country legally, being detained, and being deported and sent back to countries that they've never even been to, like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, going to the Home Depot to snatch up people who are, just out there looking to, make a honest day's living, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't think it's anything wrong with calling that out. And, I think to go back to the other question you asked me too, the theory I had, about this political coup that could be going on in the Republican Party. You're familiar, Stephen A., with the rumors that J.D. Vance went to meet with Rupert Murdoch in Montana. That was the same week Trump's letter to Epstein was published by Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal. And then Trump sued Rupert Murdoch. And then, there was another week where Mike Johnson shut the House down, avoid a vote on releasing the Epstein
went out
files.
early release for vacation.
The Wall Street Journal came out that week and said, since May. And I just look at how the MAGA base has responded to the Epstein issue. It just feels like traditional conservatives who lost the party to Trump could use this opportunity to get it back, because the MAGA base wouldn't be upset at all if they decided to impeach Trump and vote to remove him because he's in the Epstein files. And I think being that I said that, along with the economy, and I said it on Lara Trump's show, his daughter-in-law, on Fox News, I think that's what caused that response yesterday.
So are you anticipating that he's going to come after you the way that he's coming after everybody else in the media? Not everybody else, but a lot of people in the media. Are you expecting something of that magnitude? And
he already did. I mean, it's funny, right? Because like today, my phone, of course, is blowing up, and it's everybody from, elected officials, just to the homies, right? Are other people in the media space, and they all have like the same sentiment. And the sentiment is, hey man, be careful, be safe, make sure your security's on point. Those MAGA folks are crazy. And it just made me think to myself, damn, we're at that point in our society where you can't even criticize, your president without people thinking that, your safety is in danger. If that's not authoritarian strategy, I don't know what is. So, just the fact that people were calling my phone saying that today, it says a lot about where we are, as a society. So I don't know what's going to happen.
It says a lot about where we are as a society. We are disintegrating before our very eyes, as far as I'm concerned. But what does it say to you about you? Do you feel you need to watch your back? Are you concerned?
I always got my head on a swivel, Stephen A. I didn't got punched in the street a couple of times throughout my career, so I always got my head on a swivel. So if you ask me, do I feel like I need to watch my back? I'm not going to watch my back any more than I currently already, do.
Get ready with me to go to an appointment. My appointment's right here on my phone, which is in 10 minutes. So we need 5-minute makeup. I've been with Ophelia for over a year now, and I have not had one single issue with them. My insurance covers it. Thank the Lord. And if you do happen to check them out, please let me know in the comments.
Need to run Windows on your Mac? Parallels Desktop makes it simple to integrate Windows apps into your macOS workflow. Install Windows in minutes and stay productive without hassle. Run the apps you need, when you need them, with full compatibility with the latest macOS and Windows. Get the best of both worlds. Download Parallels Desktop today.
Let me transition to the MAGA base, because that's where you and I part ways. I think we disagree here. I don't think the Republican Party, the GOP, is capable of dissipating Trump's voice in any way. I don't think they're capable of doing it. And I'll tell you why. Partially because of the Democrats. Because again, let's look at Mamdani in New York City, Democratic nominee beat Cuomo in the primaries. It's favored to beat Cuomo and Eric Adams, who are both running as independents in the New York City mayoral race. You see the Gavin Newsom, and even though he's leaving office, we know what his history was in terms of progressive verbiage and what have you, even though he's trying to lean towards center because he's plotting a 2028 run. I was born at night, not last night. I see exactly what the hell he's doing. We got a cat in Minnesota that's considered to be progressive, and apparently he's making some noise as well. I think that when you have that going on the left, Trump doesn't have to worry about anybody on the right, because they'll never go in a different direction. To that, you say what?
Well, that's interesting. You saying that, people may rebel against MAGA, right? And we pretty much kind of knew Donald fumbled the ball in some way, shape, or form, but we know that Democrats don't have the proper team on the field to recover the fumble. So just because they will rebel against MAGA doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go, towards Democrats and their party back and present that, traditional conservative doing things to America. And it'll be a large majority of people who feel like, that's more stable than what's going on with MAGA. That's more stable than what's currently going on with the Democratic Party. I think I'm going to stay right here, because they're going to be the ones that look like, they're sort of in the center. I feel like even, the progressive left, looks like they're in the center right now. Because when you talk about somebody like Mamdani, the reason he's resonating is because he's using one word, Stephen A., affordability. He's simply going out here and saying, New York is too expensive to live in. And guess what? People all over the country feel like that about wherever they are if you're not in a certain tax bracket. They feel like the country is just, too expensive. Affordability. Anybody who talks that language is going to resonate with people. That's why Trump resonated last election. He was talking, he literally said, I won the election off one word, groceries. The groceries were too damn high. That's it.
Listen, affordability, but your other word, safety. Those are the two primary things, because you can afford stuff, but if you don't feel safe in the streets, you ain't gonna go out and spend. And if you ain't going out and spending, you ain't fueling the economy, and you're gonna be counterproductive to everything they're trying to establish. And in the case of Mamdani, I think the one thing that's working for him is that he comes from a well-off family, if my research is correct. And so as a result of that, when you got a president that's supposedly a billionaire, we know he's a billionaire now, but was supposedly a billionaire coming into office, okay? And America didn't mind that. They're certainly not going to hold it against somebody that lived or had an affluent life available to him before capturing office. So I get you on that part. But I also agree with you about this. I'm a Wes Moore fan. I'm a Josh Shapiro fan. But I'm also not a thief. I'm not going to steal an idea from Charlamagne the God. I loved what you said on Lara Trump's show when you brought up Jon Stewart, form of, Comedy Central. Listen, he's a viable candidate. He knows the issues. He's smart as hell. He's a viable candidate for the job, but you're the perfect person to ask this question to. One of the things that people think jeopardizes stuff for Mamdani is that they don't believe he has spoken out strongly enough against anti-Semitism. On the flip side, whether it's a Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, whether it's a Jon Stewart, obviously we know their association, they're Jewish individuals. Considering what's going on with Israel in Gaza, etc., how receptive or attractive do you think either of them would be as a presidential candidate for 2028?
I don't think anybody will hold Jon Stewart's identity against him simply because Jon Stewart is a person who speaks truth to power regardless. Right. Jon Stewart can speak to, how atrocious October 7th was. He can speak to, of course, he doesn't want anti-Semitism to happen. He's a Jewish man, but he can also speak to, the inhumane things that are happening to those innocent people in Gaza. It's one thing to go into Gaza and weed out Hamas. It's another, to kill a bunch of innocent, men, women, and children. And I think Jon Stewart has done a fantastic job, speaking out against that. And to that point about Jon Stewart, he has the cultural cachet of 30 plus years of being on Daily Show, being on TV, and he's actually gotten legislation passed before. Yep. Nobody can forget what Jon Stewart did, for the firefighters,
for the veterans. 9/11, yes.
On 9/11. Yeah. Like, I don't think there's a better messenger, period, than Jon Stewart. I don't even look at it as a party thing. I'm just looking at it as a person who actually cares. And I think Jon Stewart is one of those people. Governor Shapiro, I personally like Governor Shapiro. I think that it'll be more of a backlash towards him just because he's a politician. I don't think it's about him being Jewish as much as it is him being a politician, an elected official. I think for some reason, people look at elected officials, in regards to that issue worse than they would somebody like a Jon Stewart.
Well, that's the Jewish element. What about this when it comes to Wes Moore as an African-American who obviously served our country with distinction and what have you before he became the governor of Maryland? Some people believe that the reason why Trump is in office, was ever in office rather to begin with, was because it was white backlash against Obama and his time in the White House. Well, some people will look at Wes Moore and say, you know what? Are we going to want that twice? Because they'll think along those lines. I won't. You won't. Yeah. He'd have my vote. But I wonder, do you feel that would be a factor if indeed he decided to change course and say, I'm not going to just focus on Maryland. I think I should be the president of the United States of America.
Yeah, listen, all of those things factor, Stephen. We can't lie to ourselves. We can't lie to ourselves about Shapiro. We can't lie to ourselves about Wes Moore. This is still America at the end of the day. So there are going to be some people who hold, Wes Moore being black against him. It is going to be some people who hold, Josh Shapiro being Jewish against him. But I think all of us just need to focus on ideas. Like, let's not focus on the individual. Let's not focus on their identity. Let's put their ideas on the table and see if their ideas can help take our country, in a positive direction, in the future.
My issue with you when you say that, Charlamagne, is that the ideas, you're absolutely right. You're not wrong. But we know when it comes election time, campaign time, they pretend to have ideas, but they really resort to denigrating the other side. We know what they do. Ultimately, it's about, oh my God, what's going to happen to you if you vote for that person? What's going to happen for you if you vote for that person? That's what it is. And by the way, I made news. I think you may have seen it, but did it, in case you didn't, I made news when I spoke back at Michelle Obama. She was just talking about sports TV compared to reality TV. I took no offense to that whatsoever. Yeah, it was totally cool. It's no big deal to me. But I took the opportunity to remind her that I was still a bit salty when she was campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris and was saying a vote for him was a vote against us as women. And I'm saying, well, damn, people vote for the economy. People vote about immigration. People vote about safety in the streets, affordability, like you pointed out to. It's entirely possible that there's a plethora of issues, at least for men, that come before pro-choice or pro-life. That's all I was trying to say. So to act as if to vote against that would have been an indictment against women, I didn't like that.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that there's a lot of nuanced reasons as to why people cast their votes. And, the only thing I would say to what you just said is once that is presented to us, right? When somebody says, well, okay, I know the reasons you may want to vote for this person, but look at what he's going to do with this and how this is going to impact a large swath of a certain demographic. Then we got to make decisions as fathers, as husbands, as brothers. We got to make decisions. I voted for Kamala. Yeah. That's right. So we got to make decisions based on that. But yeah, I just think it's all very nuanced, man. It's a very interesting conversation. What was the question? I forgot the question.
No, it wasn't. No, you answered it. You answered it already because I was talking about. I was talking about just what I said in terms of that was my position, and you talked about how you agree with the nuance, but in the same breath, once it's presented to you, you can understand her point. What were your thoughts about Kamala Harris not removing herself from a potential another presidential run, but definitely saying she's not running for the gubernatorial seat in California? I personally believe there's no way in hell she's going to win the presidency in 2028. I don't think that she's going to be the candidate. I think her time, she had a chance at that. It didn't get done, and that's where I'm at with it. What about you?
Kamala's a friend, man.
Yeah.
I've been supporting Kamala for a long time. But I can't sit here and say I disagree with you. I think that she should do whatever it is that she wants to do. But when I heard her say that, the system is broken and she wants to take a step back from the system, her whole career has been the system. I just don't see.
It made no sense.
Her whole career has been the system. I just don't see how now, she's going to take a step back away from the system. But I do think that, her mentality of wanting to go out there and saying, I want to be more of a public servant and actually, be on the ground, meeting people, shaking their hands, looking them in the eyes, talking to them. I think that will have more of an impact than people think. I saw people saying that, she wouldn't make a good surrogate because, she's unpopular and unpopular.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, she got the second most votes of any Democratic nominee in a presidential election ever. Now, I don't know, what that personally means, especially when the first one was Joe Biden. But if you got that many people who went out there and voted for you, then she clearly has some type of cachet that she probably could use to help other individuals win elections.
Right.
Trading options can be a great way to generate income, but most traders are losing money and unable to consistently make money.
In this episode, Donald Trump goes off, and I mean off, on Charlemagne the God for pushing woke nonsense on national TV. Then there's Elon Musk, who drops a surprise $15 million donation to Republicans after months of tension. And then there's the Democrat Party, scrambling behind closed doors, praying this doesn't mark the beginning of the red tsunami they swore was dead. We're going to break it all down. Trump's clapback, Musk's money moves, and why the conservative base is not just alive, it's a ticking time bomb that the Democrats are so afraid of. Clip this one, bookmark it, share it, because when 2026 hits, this episode might read like prophecy. Oh, the mainstream media is not going to like this one. They're going to really want to shut me down after this, because this is the place where facts punch harder than feelings and where truth doesn't bend to political correctness. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. So today we're going to expose, guys, this 3-part political earthquake, sending shockwaves, I think, through DC. Like I said, Charlemagne the God plays puppet for the establishment as always. Trump dismantles the narrative in one viral post. Then Elon Musk stuns the political world with this $15 million power move. And the result? The left is in full-blown panic mode. Buckle up, because this isn't just news. This is the start of something big.
So look, we're 6 months into President Trump's second term in office. Now, I know you've been critical. You've had your bones to pick with President Trump. If you took his name out of it and looked solely at what has happened, the policies and the things that have changed around the world and in our country over the first 6 months, how do you rate his presidency so far?
I wouldn't give it a good rating,
Why not?
simply because, the least of us are still being impacted the worst. Like when you look at something like, the big, beautiful bill, that's something that, I'm going to benefit from because of the tax bracket that I'm in. But, there's going to be so many people that's hurt by that bill. And, anything that, takes away Medicaid from people and is going to put people in a worse financial situation than, they were previously in. I'm not for. And, he ran on that. Like he ran on, the economy. He ran on saying that, grocery prices were going to be down. And,
That has happened.
No.
Inflation is trending down. And by the way, Medicaid.
No. I think that traditional conservatives are going to take the Republican Party back. I think there's a political coup going on right now in the Republican Party that people aren't paying attention to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that this Epstein thing is going to be a way for traditional conservatives to take their party back. I really do. I think that they know this is the issue that has gotten the base riled up. The MAGA base isn't letting this issue go, and for the first time, they know they can, probably take their party back and not piss off the MAGA base.
Do you see yourself in 2028 voting blue or voting red? And is there anyone you might already see yourself supporting?
I really don't know. I mean, I think that there's some good candidates out there. I think that we really have to look to the governors when it comes to the Democrats. I don't think that there's any change agents that's going to come out of nowhere and shake things up in the Democratic Party. I think it's going to end up being a governor, Josh Shapiro or a Wes Moore, somebody like that. And they actually have a track record, right? Because you can go look at their states to see what they're probably going to end up doing on a national level. The only other person I would like to see in 2028 run, and this is going to sound ridiculous probably coming from me, I would love to see Jon Stewart run in 2028. If we're talking about a change agent coming from the outside that's really going to shake things up, and somebody that I feel like can speak to all people, plus he's a celebrity who actually knows what they're talking about. We've seen him get legislation and stuff, passed before. Like we know where his heart is. He'd be somebody I'd like to see really get in the race and disrupt things in 2028. Maybe a Jon Stewart Colbert ticket, because Colbert's not going to have a job. He's not working because of President Trump, so they say.
Well, people say different things. They also say he lost $40 million a year for CBS, which is also a bit of a problem whenever you're trying to have a successful show. If you had to pick a Republican who might be able to earn your vote, is there anyone you like that you would look at?
I mean, I was in South Carolina. I grew up in South Carolina under, somebody like Nikki Haley, right? So I can see something like that.
Let's start with the moment that lit a fire under the conservative base. Charlemagne the God, which I'd hate saying the God, okay? There's only one God I serve. The radio host, who is now turned a progressive spokesperson, decided to use his guest spot on Laura Trump's show to do what the left loves to do: talk down to conservative America. He accused the Republican Party of being lost, claimed Trump's base was crumbling, said the MAGA movement was a shell of its former self, and of course, dropped some half-baked insinuation about Epstein files being the nail in the coffin for Trump. This is what they do, guys. They don't argue policy. They don't offer solutions. They sling mud, gaslight the public, and then have the nerve to call it journalism. Now, Charlemagne probably thought he could get away with it, but what he didn't count on was Trump going full scorched earth, okay? In his response on Truth Social, he did not mince words. He called Charlemagne a low IQ race hustler, a sleazebag, and a Democrat puppet. And in typical Trump fashion, he went further. This is what he said: Charlemagne is just another loudmouth who gets trotted out to keep the left's plantation intact. He's not thinking for himself. He's reciting talking points for a paycheck. Child. Now, of course, the media rushed to defend their golden boy. Cries of racism, violence, and dangerous rhetoric. Of course, it erupted all over the cable news outlets and mainstream media. But here's what they won't admit. Trump's response wasn't about Charlemagne. It was about the game that the left plays, where they use entertainers and influencers to run this narrative warfare, where instead of offering any accountability for the Biden's failures or the Democrat Party's failures, they point fingers at Trump and scream about Epstein. Trump exposed that loudly, and the left, well, they hated it.
Donkey of the day for Monday, August 4th goes to President Donald J. Trump. Now, if you haven't heard, I was on Lara Trump's show, My View, on Fox this past weekend. Drop one of the clues bombs for Lara Trump. She's been a guest on Breakfast Club before, so I had no problem showing up to her program. You know, I'm one of those silly rabbits who still believes in the First Amendment, okay, freedom of speech. Thankfully, Lara is a Trump who still believes in freedom of speech because her father-in-law, the 47th president of the United States of America, did not take too kindly to some things I had to say. Now,
President Trump railed at the radio host Charlemagne the God after the host said that the administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein matter was fueling a coup in the Republican Party. Charlemagne the God, talking to Laura Trump on Fox News, said, "I think traditional conservatives are going to take the Republican Party back. I think there's a political coup going on right now in the Republican Party." Trump wrote on Truth Social, "He's a low IQ individual, has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth, and knows nothing about me or what I have done." The President of the United States wrote that Charlemagne the God is a racist sleazebag, and then wrote, "Why is he allowed to use the word God when describing himself? Can anyone imagine the uproar there would be if I used that nickname?" Of course, Trump was donkey of the day on the Breakfast Club this morning, but the President of the United States is in a back and forth, tit for tat, word for word war with Charlemagne the God.
Fuck.
Now, I want to shift gears here because while the left was busy crying about tweets, Elon Musk was moving millions. Just weeks ago, it looked like Musk had completely turned his back on Trump. He publicly criticized a major Trump bill, floated launching a third party, even threatened to fund primary challengers. The media thought they had him. Oh, they said, see, even Elon is walking away from MAGA. But then on June 27th, boom. Elon Musk drops $15 million into Republican super PACs. That's $5 million to MAGA Inc., $5 million to the Senate Leadership Fund, and another $5 million to the Congressional Leadership Fund. And just like that, Elon rewrites the political narrative. The same man they said was breaking away from the right just became one of the GOP's biggest donors for 2026. But why? Because Musk isn't stupid. He knows the left is bad for innovation. He knows they want censorship, regulation, and top-down control. He knows the future of tech, speech, and business as a whole depends on conservative victories. So what did he do? He bet on freedom. He bet on capitalism. He bet on Republicans. And for every pundit who said Elon's playing both sides, well, sorry. Money doesn't lie. And $15 million says that he's all in.
Glad you're with us. A pair of hefty donations to the Republican Party suggest that Elon Musk may not be done with politics. The world's richest man and former head of Doge gave $5 million each to main super PACs backing House and Senate Republicans. That's according to newly released campaign finance disclosures. And in a surprising move, Musk also spent $5 million to MAGA Inc., President Trump's super PAC, despite his messy falling out with the president. Joining us now, New York Times reporter Teddy Schleifer. And you cover billionaires, their impact on the world. You're also an MSNBC contributor, Teddy. So explain to us these filings and the significance that Musk apparently spent about $15 million on Republican PACs while he was fighting with the president. Is that an indication he's trying to make peace here?
You know, all these donations came on the same day. They were all the same amount of money. This was clearly an intentional strategy by Musk to, curry favor or bury the hatchet with the traditional Republican powers that be. I mean, yes and no is the answer to your question. That being said, he didn't donate $100 million, which is what we reported Musk was considering donating to Trump groups at the beginning of maybe the middle of the Trump presidency in around March. He basically makes this belated, fairly small donation to the Trump groups. And this is on June 27th. I know we're rolling back the tape here pretty far, but this is a couple of days before Elon announced he was leaving the Republican Party altogether around July 4th. So we're sort of looking at a time capsule of where Elon Musk was in late June, and things have changed.
Yeah. So speaking of, these filings, as you mentioned, predate Musk's threats to create a third party to challenge Republicans who voted for the president's big, beautiful bill, which he did not like. Axios is now reporting that his America Party has so far failed to get off the ground. Is that an indication of the fact that he's letting go of this effort, or where do things stand with the America Party?
Yeah, based on my reporting, this has never really been super serious to begin with. I mean, that being, Elon has told people privately that this was something he was looking at, but there have been no efforts that I've detected or other reporters have detected to make this into a real thing. That being said, like, things can start as jokes in Elon Musk's orbit and become real very quickly. I mean, he didn't intend to own Twitter, and now he owns Twitter in part because he was egged on. It was partially a joke at first. So it's never over till it's over. But the indications that I've gotten, and based on some of the filings we see last night, show that Musk is trying to at least kind of get back in favor of the Republican Party, and we have not seen any signs to date that the America Party, which obviously would be very difficult to pull off, is actually going to happen.
You could practically hear the screams from CNN headquarters. Charlemagne gets smoked. Elon funds the GOP. Trump gains momentum. And the DNC is left trying to convince America that the sky isn't falling. Except it is. Behind closed doors, Democrat strategists are panicking. Their internal polling is disastrous. Suburban swing voters are shifting red. Hispanic and Black male voters under 40 bleeding away. Inflation is crushing families. Crime is skyrocketing in blue cities. And the border? Well, it's being cracked down on from being wide open under Biden. The media can spin it all they want, but the American people feel it. And come 2026, they're going to vote with a vengeance. This is no longer about Trump, guys. This is about survival. This is about fighting back against a party that weaponizes the DOJ, erases borders, and lectures you about pronouns while your paycheck evaporates. So yes, they're very afraid because they know the red wave they mocked in 2022, well, it's still coming. It's still going. But this time it's angry. It's focused. It's got $15 million in fuel from Elon Musk. I think what we're witnessing right now isn't just a news cycle. It's a political realignment, something deeper, something seismic. Because for all the media bluster about Trump fatigue and GOP division, what we're actually seeing is a clean break from the old guard and the birth of a Republican Party that fights back hard, a Republican Party that's more diverse than they ever even wanted it to be, what the left wanted it to be. No more Mitt Romney shrugging through interviews, no more Liz Cheney's playing defense for MSNBC. This is the era of unapologetic America First conservatives, and it's not just rhetoric. It's funding, it's policy, it's ground game. It's Elon Musk throwing down millions. It's record-shattering small dollar donations from everyday Americans. It's school board takeovers, mayoral upsets, state house flips, and all being quietly ignored by the legacy press because they know what it means. 2026 is going to be a reckoning, plain and simple. And while Democrats are focused on TikTok influencers and DEI consultants, Republicans are mobilizing real voters who are sick of the chaos. They're tired of being called extremists and racist because they want their neighborhood safe, their gas tanks full, and their children to actually be educated and not indoctrinated. They're done apologizing for their values, done playing nice, done pretending this is just another election. No, it's not. This is a war for the soul of this nation. And every time people like Charlemagne or The View or MSNBC or CNN say Republicans are dying, what they're really trying to do is convince themselves, not the voters. We've got to talk about why the left is so obsessed with people like Charlemagne and Cardi B, Taylor Swift. They suddenly become these political sages in their party. It's because they've trapped themselves in a cultural echo chamber where celebrity is mistaken for credibility and influence is confused with leadership. The Democrats genuinely believe that a rapper or actor making a viral anti-Trump video on Instagram is going to sway elections. Huh? Guess what? That spell that they're under, it's broken. Americans are waking up to the scam. They're watching their grocery bill double. They're watching their kids come home from school confused about gender. They're watching their neighborhoods become crime zones. And then they turn on the news and see multimillionaire elites lecturing them about privilege. Give me a break. That disconnect is exactly why Charlemagne's comment fell flat and why Trump's response resonated with people. Because average Americans don't want more woke commentary. They want leadership. They want results. They want someone who is going to fight for their future, not their pronouns. And when they see Trump fight back, when they see Musk drop millions, when they hear the left scream in outrage, that's confirmation they're on the right side of history.
Obviously, the 3% number is way ahead of expectations. It's a fantastic number. It just feels like, everything's humming on all cylinders here. One thing you didn't mention, but I think is relevant, is the new trade deal with the EU.
We're about to get to that, by the way. That's the next story.
Okay. Well, I would include that because
Okay, go ahead. Include it. Yeah.
I think it was a deal that just got announced where the EU is going to open its markets to U.S. products, no tariff on U.S. products, but they will pay a 15% tariff coming into the U.S. They're going to be investing $600 billion in the U.S. They're going to be buying $750 billion of U.S. energy, and then some very large number, I guess they didn't specify a number, on defense products, basically American military products, hundreds of billions, which is the follow-up to their commitment to raise their contribution to NATO to 5% of GDP, up from, I guess it was for like 2% before. So, this is a huge deal for the United States. I think it's a huge win for the Trump administration. And the deal is so good that what I'm seeing from European sources on X, European publications, just commenters, is that they were like outraged. They felt like they got taken to the cleaners here.
Good.
And
okay.
You see a lot of that on X by European side. A lot of the European leaders are saying that Ursula chickened out. So, all those stupid taco memes are going away now because people are realizing that Trump's willingness to raise tariffs on these countries as a threat to renegotiate better trade deals is working. It's working extraordinarily well. Just this EU deal, one way to think about it is you add it all up, it's about $2 trillion. It's effectively $2 trillion of stimulus into the US, but without money printing.
Yeah, over the next 3 years.
So it's not inflation.
Here's the part the mainstream won't say out loud. Republicans are finally learning how to win the culture war and the ground game. We're no longer ceding social media to the left. We're flooding TikToks, YouTube, X, Instagram, everywhere with real talk, with facts, stats, and call outs that hit like sledgehammers. We're organizing digitally, but also acting locally. We're showing up to school board meetings, city councils, primaries, and community forums. And now we've got billionaires, yes, even once hostile ones like Elon Musk, writing massive checks to keep the movement going. This isn't just a comeback, it's a full-on counterstrike, a movement that stretches from working Americans in Michigan to tech titans in California and Texas, a coalition of patriots who may not all agree on everything. That's fine. But they agree on one thing. This country is going to hell under Democrat control, and we've got to stop it. The playbook is clear. Hammer home the border crisis, show voters the receipts on inflation, expose the radical gender ideology in schools, hold Democrats accountable for lawlessness and corruption, and remind Americans that under Republican leadership, this country was safer, stronger, richer, and freer. Look, guys, Trump is not going anywhere. Elon Musk just made the biggest political U-turn since Reagan switched parties. And the conservative movement, it's alive. It's thriving. It's evolving. It's winning. Charlemagne can talk all he wants. The media can spin all they want. But facts don't lie. And here are the facts, okay? Trump still dominates the Republican base. Musk's money just refueled the engine. Democrat approval is in free fall, and the American people are done being lied to. This isn't just about 2026, guys. This is about reclaiming the American dream. This is about standing up to media bullies, corporate tyrants, and government overreach. So if you're tired of watching the country crumble into pieces, if you're tired of being mocked, censored, and taxed into submission, it is time to lock in. Share this video. Comment below with what you're seeing in your town, your school, locally, even in your own wallet, because the movement isn't over. It's just getting started.
Everyone's waiting for the next bull run.
They're refreshing charts, watching candlesticks twitch up and down, arguing over MACD crosses, RSI divergence, and Fibonacci retracements. They're posting memes, hoping, guessing, gambling. They think we're gearing up for the same old script. A wave of retail euphoria, a surge of liquidity, and a flood of hype-fueled tokens rocketing to impossible highs. But they're not just wrong. They're looking in the completely wrong direction. Because this isn't a bull run. This is a reset, a quiet, coordinated overhaul of the global financial system. The legacy stack, decades old, riddled with inefficiencies, controlled by gatekeepers, is being disassembled behind closed doors. Governments, institutions, and infrastructure players aren't tweeting about it, but they're executing on it, methodically, legally, and permanently. What's rising in its place isn't speculation. It's structure. A structure built on interoperability, speed, transparency, and programmatic trust. It's not a flash in the pan. It's the new base layer of global finance. And leading the charge? Not dog coins, not hype coins, not your favorite low-cap gem on page 3 of CoinMarketCap. The real momentum is behind the utility layer giants, XRP, XLM, HBAR. XRP, the liquidity engine for frictionless global settlement, already aligned with institutions and regulators. XLM, the connective tissue for financial access across borders, permissionless, lightweight, built for global money movement. HBAR, the enterprise-grade ledger trusted by multinational corporations for real-world applications in payments, compliance, and data integrity. These aren't pump and dumps. These are digital infrastructure rails. They aren't riding waves. They're laying the pipes through which future trillions will flow. And while most retail investors are chasing candles, these networks are onboarding central banks, integrating with payment hubs, and solving problems the mainstream isn't even aware of yet. This is the shift from a speculative, retail-driven playground to a utility-driven, enterprise-grade financial system. If you're still treating this like a typical cycle, you'll miss the biggest transition of your lifetime. Because what's unfolding is not a phase. It's a permanent, systemic reprogramming of how value moves across the globe. So if you care about being ahead, act like it. Subscribe to stay on top of the shifts the media still isn't talking about. Save this video because when the floodgates open and the headlines finally catch up, this will be the thread that made it all click. Share this with a friend who's still chasing meme coins. Someone who needs to know the real wealth is built before the hype arrives. This isn't about price predictions. It's about protocol adoption. This isn't a bull run. This is the reset. Let's break it down. Everyone's waiting for the next bull run. They've got alerts set, YouTube influencers on repeat, wallets packed with tokens barely understand, all in the hope that history will repeat itself. That another 2017 or 2021 style rocket ship is coming. That they'll catch the next one. But this time, it's different. What's happening right now isn't a bull run. It's a reset. A deep structural rewiring of how money moves, how trust is encoded, and how value will flow across the planet for decades to come. While most of retail is staring at charts, praying for green candles, the real action is happening in boardrooms, legislative chambers, and enterprise development labs. It's quiet, it's intentional, and it's permanent. The old financial stack based on centralized banks, outdated rails, and middlemen is being retired. Not with fireworks, but with regulatory clarity, digital asset integrations, and back-end overhauls that will never trend on Twitter. And replacing it, a new system, a new stack, decentralized, programmatic, trustless, global. And at the core of that stack isn't Bitcoin. It isn't Doge. It isn't whatever pumped 10x last week. It's utility assets, purpose-built, battle-tested, engineered for scale. XRP, the institutional-grade liquidity protocol solving cross-border inefficiencies that have existed for decades. XLM, the decentralized bridge giving unbanked populations access to financial infrastructure at near-zero cost. HBAR, the enterprise-grade public network trusted by global players for its unmatched speed, governance, and security. These aren't hype coins. These are infrastructure. So if you're still asking when bull, you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, Are you positioned for the system that's being built to replace everything you know? If not, now's the time to tune in. Not later. Now, the shift you're not seeing. Look, the loudest people in crypto are still chasing pumps. They're obsessed with price charts, RSI, support lines, golden crosses. They talk like we're in 2021. Like meme coins and hype cycles are still running the show. But beneath all that noise, something much bigger is happening. Governments, central banks, and Fortune 500 companies aren't betting on frogs with funny names. They're building infrastructure, on-chain, quietly, relentlessly. And here's what they know that retail doesn't. Crypto isn't about price anymore. It's about position. Position in the new rails of finance. Position in regulatory clarity. Position in networks that can scale globally without breaking. And that's why XRP, XLM, and HBAR keep showing up in the rooms that actually matter. XRP, liquidity infrastructure for the Internet of Value. Ripple isn't waiting for the SEC to throw a party. They've already launched Relust, a US-backed stablecoin. They're securing licenses globally, building corridors, powering ODL, on-demand liquidity solutions for actual banks, not just DeFi bros in Discord. This isn't theory. This is execution. When the financial system shifts from SWIFT to seamless digital liquidity, XRP will be the backbone, not the meme. XLM, financial inclusion, real-time access. Stellar isn't making noise on Twitter because they're too busy building real-world solutions. They're powering cross-border payment infrastructure in underserved regions, helping the unbanked get access to digital dollars in seconds. They're already doing what governments say they want to do with CBDCs, but without the surveillance. If you think this tech is just for speculation, you're missing its mission. Inclusion. HBAR. Enterprise-grade everything. Hedera isn't just another chain. It's governed by titans Google, IBM, Boeing, LG, Dell, and more. Its use cases aren't promises, they're live. From healthcare to supply chains, carbon tracking to asset tokenization. HBR isn't trying to be cool. It's trying to be foundational. And guess what? That's exactly what institutions want. So while people are debating the next memecoin to 10x, the new system is already being installed. Not next year. Not in the next bull run. Now, and the networks being installed aren't the loudest, they're the most useful. The lock-in, regulation, stablecoins, and real-world assets, RWAs. You want to know why this time is different? Because the things that used to scare institutions, volatility, legal risk, gray zones, are being eliminated right now. This isn't the Wild West anymore. It's being fenced, paved, and wired for global adoption. Let's break it down. Regulation isn't a threat. It's the green light. Forget the fear tactics. Regulation isn't here to kill crypto. It's here to filter it. The speculative fluff is getting cleared out. But the protocols with real-world use cases and compliance in their DNA, they're being fast-tracked. XRP's partial win against the SEC wasn't just a legal battle. It was a precedent. One that opens the door for institutional liquidity, banking integration, and tokenized assets to go mainstream. And guess what? MiCA is already live in Europe. Hong Kong and Singapore are opening regulated crypto corridors. The US is moving slower, but when they move, the entire planet shifts. This is the regulatory phase before mass onboarding. Stablecoins are the Trojans behind the walls. Relust from Ripple isn't just another dollar token. It's a signal that stablecoins are the new rails for global payments. They're the bridge between TradFi and DeFi, between old money and programmable liquidity. But here's the kicker. The battle for stablecoin dominance is already underway, and XRP is positioning itself at the intersection of compliance, liquidity, and global reach. That's not a hype coin move. That's a chess move. RWAs, the dollar trillion on-chain migration has begun. If crypto's first era was about digital assets, this next era is about digitizing everything else. Real estate, bonds, equities, carbon credits, intellectual property, and even sovereign currencies. Institutions aren't asking if they should tokenize. They're asking how fast can we move? Guess which networks they're using? HBAR. XRP, Stellar, the ones built for throughput, identity, compliance, and scale. RWAs are the final nail in the coffin of the old system, because when you can move any asset at the speed of the internet, the gatekeepers lose control. Bottom line, the old system isn't just evolving, it's being replaced. And the new system won't be loud. It won't be hyped. It will just work. While retail waits for green candles, institutions are quietly plugging into the stack that will power the next 50 years of global finance. The flip, why the banks are panicking, and you should be paying attention. Let's be blunt. The same institutions that once called crypto a scam are now fighting behind the scenes. Not if they should get in, but how much ground they've already lost. Because here's the reality. The infrastructure shift is already happening, and they're not in control of it. And that terrifies them. The banks aren't leading. They're chasing. You've seen the headlines. You've heard the FUD. But under the surface, banks are scrambling to retrofit decades-old infrastructure to keep up with blockchain rails. Why? Because on-chain finance is faster, cheaper, programmable, and borderless. SWIFT takes days. XRP ledger settles in seconds. No middlemen. No weekend delays. No excuses. They're not adapting out of innovation. They're adapting out of survival. The liquidity drain is real, and it's accelerating. Every time a government or institution mints a tokenized bond, every time a stablecoin like Rust gains adoption, every time an RWA gets tokenized, that's liquidity permanently migrating to a new system, one that doesn't need clearing houses, one that doesn't need correspondent banks, one that doesn't need them, and once liquidity leaves, it doesn't come back. This is the Amazon moment, but for finance. Remember when bookstores laughed at Amazon? Remember when taxis dismissed Uber? That's what's happening to finance right now. And Ripple, with Rust, ODL corridors, and real-world compliance, is positioning itself as the AWS of finance. The infrastructure layer no one sees, but everything runs on. You don't need permission to front-run institutions. Here's the beauty of this moment. You don't have to wait for a fund manager. You don't need BlackRock to bless your decision. You're early, painfully early. And while they fight for regulatory clarity and board consensus, you can position yourself now ahead of the tsunami. Because when this new financial internet goes fully online, the doors don't swing open, they lock shut. If you're still sitting on the sidelines thinking this is just another hype cycle, ask yourself, why are the banks panicking if nothing is happening? Why are governments suddenly tokenizing their bonds? Why are stablecoins being pushed into compliance frameworks globally? The play is happening with or without you, and by the time it's obvious, it'll be too late to be early. This is your signal, don't miss the reset. Let's be absolutely clear about where we are right now. What's unfolding isn't the beginning of a typical bull run. This isn't the same dance of retail hype, memes, and over-leveraged speculation we've seen in cycles past. What we are witnessing is far more serious, far more structural, and far more permanent. This is the end of the old financial system as we know it. The collapse isn't going to come with fireworks or dramatic announcements. It's already underway, silently, subtly, and surgically. And what's replacing it isn't chaos. It's a new financial stack built on utility, interoperability, speed, and real-world use cases. While most people are still watching charts, hoping for their favorite meme coin to bounce back, the global infrastructure value is quietly being rewritten by assets and protocols like XRP, XLM, HBAR, and others that are solving trillion-dollar problems at the nation of commerce, banking, and government. This isn't about chasing pumps. This is about being strategically positioned before the rest of the world understands what's coming, before the media changes the narrative, before your favorite influencer flips their opinion, before institutions make their moves obvious. And here's the truth. By the time the headlines confirm what we're saying now, the biggest opportunities will already be gone. The doors will still be open, but not wide. The cost of entry will be higher, and the velocity of change will be faster than most people can keep up with. So this is what you do now, not later. Subscribe to this channel if you want to stop reacting to price action and start anticipating where the world is actually going. Save this video because in a few months or years, when everything we've laid out becomes undeniable, you'll want to remember that you heard it early. Share this with one person you care about, especially if they're still caught in the noise. Give them the chance to plug into clarity before the crowd does. Go beyond surface-level narratives. Understand the actual technology, the legal shifts, the institutional signals, because that's how you build conviction. And conviction is how you stay early, even when the market tries to shake you out. You've just been handed a rare perspective, the kind most people don't get until it's too late. The next financial era is not just being built. It's already live. It's global, it's decentralized, and it doesn't care who's watching, only who's prepared. This isn't just the evolution of finance. This is the birth of the financial internet, and like the early days of the web, most people will miss it because they don't recognize it. But you do. So now the choice is yours. Will you watch it happen from the sidelines? Or will you position yourself inside the reset, ahead of the masses, ahead of the narrative, ahead of the shift? History won't wait, and neither will this transformation. Be early, be ready, be part of it.
So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise.
I wrote it, you know what I'm saying? I paid the beat. I paid you for loaning me the money, you know what I'm saying? I paid you back your money. Now we splitting because you loaned me the money, but you own my I don't owe you a thing. Why is you holding on to my And that's standard.
A select few of us will do well. The majority will not.
We're going to give you a $25,000 signing bonus, advance, and 2 cents off every game we sell.
They know what they're doing.
$50 game. You giving me 2 cents? Let me think about that for a minute.
DMX walked into a club in Toronto thinking it was just another night to unwind until he saw Prince. What happened next? DMX described it to what it felt like getting schooled by your grandfather.
And sat down to school me, I felt like a little kid.
In a good way.
I felt like
he's the OG.
Like my
If you
grandfather
think about it.
smacked me like, what the f is wrong with you?
Now, if you know DMX, you'll know this was a man who, in his own words, could have ensured there wouldn't be a Ja Rule if he truly wanted. What could Prince have possibly said to this tough guy that blew him? Let's find out.
We had a club. And Prince comes in, big security guard. We go inside, whatever. He's like,
He pointed at you and said like, yeah, can't just say that, actually.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. DMX, From Yonkers to Global Fame. Born Earl Simmons on December 18, 1970 in Mount Vernon, New York, and raised in Yonkers, DMX's childhood was marked by hardship and instability. Raised by a single mother, Arnett Simmons, in a rough neighborhood, Earl's early years were defined by a lack of love, his mother's consistent physical and verbal abuse, and street life. He battled poverty, abuse, and neglect, and by the age of 7, was already in and out of group homes. Even then, he had a unique presence. He bonded more with stray dogs than people, drawn to their loyalty and rage. That connection would eventually shape his stage name and persona, DMX, short for Dark Man X. Not only his name, but DMX was first arrested in 1986 for stealing a dog and spent 2 years in juvenile detention. By his teens, DMX was beatboxing, rapping, and crafting a reputation in local freestyle circles. His energy was unmatched, often rapping with his hands cuffed behind his back at juvenile centers or battling MCs in Yonkers parks after dark. He wasn't just rapping, he was exorcising pain. The early life of X influenced his hardcore rap, but it wasn't only his music that was affected. DMX was knee-deep in street life, and crime interwoven into his DNA. Here's an instance given by Jermaine. While Jermaine Dupri was working on his album Life in 1942, he scheduled a recording session with DMX at a studio in New York. Wanting to turn the moment into a promotional opportunity, Dupri invited a journalist believed to be from The Source to sit in on the session and document the behind-the-scenes creative process. The writer arrived at the studio before anyone else. Not long after, DMX showed up, flanked by his 2 dogs, as was typical for him during that time. What happened next was unexpected. Before Dupri could make it to the session, the reporter had already been shaken up. According to Dupri, DMX confronted the journalist, questioning who he was and what he had on him. Without ever pulling a weapon, DMX used his intimidating presence and more specifically, his dogs, to force the man to give up everything he had. The dogs were enough. No violence, no guns, just DMX, his growl, and his animals standing guard as he told the reporter to run everything. and the man did.
What was it like being around DMX?
DMX was dangerous, man. Like, not dangerous, but he's like, when you around him, he's like, you don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Very unpredictable.
Right.
Now that you're fully briefed on who DMX was at the time, let's talk about Prince. Chapter 2, Prince.
He was born Prince Rogers Nelson. And by the age of 7, he was playing the piano. It's just one of the many instruments he's mastered over the years. He's written songs for the most popular singers of the day and has gotten countless awards. This is the baddest man around.
The world knew Prince for his music. His mystique and his mesmerizing style, his dressing, made him seem too surreal. But few truly grasped just how strategic, disciplined, and unyieldingly tough he was. Prince wasn't just a musical genius, he was a one-man industry. An artist, a mentor, a visionary, and a relentless advocate for control.
What amazed me, perhaps more than anything else, is how often I would come in and I'd see the mic in front of the chair in a sitting position. And you'd realize he had done a lot of that stuff sitting down.
By the time Prince passed, he had dropped 39 albums in 40 years. That's nearly one every year. And get this, he reportedly wrote anywhere from 500 to 1,000 songs, with tons still locked away in his vault. Prince didn't just make music, he lived in the studio. Sometimes he'd knock out a whole album in a week, or lay down a full song, vocals, instruments, mixing all in one day. It wasn't just about working fast, it was about the energy he brought. Studio engineers said he'd go for 40 hours straight, chasing the raw emotion of a track. He'd often keep the first or second take not because it was perfect, but because it was real.
Oh, the stuff you'd hear coming from the door.
Wow.
But see, Prince he would have the one track. So if he made a mistake, he'd roll back. But so often it would be one pass, and then you'd hear him doing the backing harmonies.
Now, Prince signed with Warner Brothers when he was just a teenager, and by 1978, he dropped his debut album, For You. He didn't just sing on it, he wrote, produced, arranged, played every instrument, sang every note, and even engineered it himself. Warner tried assigning him an executive producer, but Prince wasn't having it. He wanted full control, and he got it. That fierce independence, it became his trademark. His big breakout came in 1984 with Purple Rain, both a film and the album, and it launched him into global superstardom. Tracks like When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, and the iconic Purple Rain showed the world what made Prince so different, a mix of punk, rock, pop, and soul that didn't follow anyone's rules but his own. And his style? Just as bold as his sound. Prince blurred the lines between gender, fashion, expectations, all of it. He had around 3,000 custom high heels made by Andre No. 1 over the years, usually in custom shades of purple. These weren't just for show. They had reinforced soles built for wild, high-energy performances. He didn't care for fancy tech like 3D scanning. He preferred things handmade, authentic, made with feel, not formulas. At Paisley Park Compound, his outfits were created by in-house designers who worked off his late-night sketches and spontaneous ideas. Lace, sequins, bold shapes, and raw stitching. Prince wore it all like art. But behind the glam, he was battling his label. In the late 80s and early 90s, Prince grew more frustrated with Warner Brothers, especially the rule of one album per year. That didn't work for someone like him who could crank out songs daily. So he took matters into his own hands, launching Paisley Park Records in 1985, then NPG Records later on. By 1993, the fight got real. He changed his name to a symbol and started showing up with the word slave painted on his face, not for shock, but for protest. To him, it wasn't just business. It was about ownership. It was personal. If you don't own your masters, your master owns you. In 1996, after delivering his final contractual albums, Prince declared emancipation and broke free. His new label allowed him to release songs on his terms, including direct-to-fan models like the NPG Music Club and Lotus Flower. Prince composed, arranged, produced, engineered, and played every instrument on many of his albums. Dirty Mind and the self-titled Prince were early examples where he handled nearly everything alone. He embraced multi-genre fusion, rock, funk, pop, jazz, electronica, often blending them within a single track. His releases from Sign of the Times through Love Sexy showcased his ever-evolving sound and prolific release schedule. He consistently performed dozens of instruments in the studio, layering tracks himself. He challenged industry norms by refusing outside producers. When Warner execs tried stepping on his debut, he kicked them out, insisting on full creative control. Every opportunity Prince had to talk about it, he mentioned how corrupt the music industry was.
As long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings.
Chapter 3, DMX and Prince. There are moments in life that change you, not in a loud, dramatic way, but in a quiet, soul-piercing kind of way. One conversation, one person, one truth can make you stop in your tracks and reevaluate everything you thought you knew. For DMX, that person was Prince, and not just DMX. Cat Williams, the American comedian and actor, was also someone who saw Prince as a person he could look up to, but DMX's demeanor is not just regular. So now, imagine him standing in a club in Toronto, just enjoying the night after shooting scenes for Exit Wounds. He's in his element. The music's playing, the energy is high, and then, out of nowhere, someone walks in. Not just anyone, Prince. You could be wondering what a small-statured man could possibly tell a tough guy like DMX to make him say Prince blew his mind, but it was more than what he said. Known for wearing heels, lace shirts, velvet suits, and giving off this vibe like he was part rock star, part spirit, almost untouchable. For most people, Prince was this mix of magic and mystery. People didn't always know how to describe him. Was he shy, arrogant, genius, all of the above? His image had layers. Some people even joked about him. DMX said it himself. Folks used to make fun of the heels and that soft-spoken energy, sarcastically calling him Prince Gangsta. Like, how could someone wearing glitter and platforms be tough? But that's what made what happened next so unexpected.
It seems like Prince is a G, man. Every story we got, everything seems good.
Everybody
love Prince.
Who didn't know Prince, but would kind of make fun of the heels.
Because that night, Prince wasn't anything like the image people had in their heads. Not to DMX, not even close. Prince came in quietly but strong. He walked in with presence. He motioned for DMX to come over, which he did. Up with a calm voice, he spoke with intent. He told the security to make space, and they did. Literally backed up half the club, moved tables, cleared the area just so he could sit down and talk to DMX. For over an hour, just the two of them. And that's what shook DMX the most. This wasn't a pop star putting on a show. Mind you, DMX has been with other top tough artists like Jay-Z and Tupac. He knew and rolled with men in charge and was linked to some dangerous groups like the Latin Kings. This was a man that was confident, in control, and wise. But Prince sat with DMX and dropped knowledge. They didn't talk about the industry, the fame, the light. They talked the real talk, ownership, life, meaning. And in that moment, all the jokes, all the stereotypes, gone. Prince didn't just earn respect that night, he redefined it for DMX so bad, years later, he is still moved by Prince. And when a man like DMX who's been through the street, the stage, the storm says that, you listen. Because sometimes the realest moments come from the people you least expect. And that night, in a club in Toronto, two legends crossed paths not with egos, not with beef, but with honesty, and something deeper. So what happened when these two worlds collided? What did Prince say? Because from the looks, DMX was doing more of the listening, no growls. Chapter 4, Masters.
Companies felt otherwise, and they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair.
No exaggerations, but you get a story not many have heard from a guy who has had it with record labels given his unique talents. A conversation that lasted for about an hour, but shook DMX for a while. Now, one of the things they deliberated on was masters. Let's break down something that most people outside the music industry don't fully understand. Masters. In simple terms, the master recording is the original, highest quality recording of a song or album. Every copy made, whether it's on Spotify, a CD, vinyl, or a TikTok clip, is traced back to that one master file.
What is it exactly that you want to be free from when you're talking about your record company?
In your job, can you leave it if you want to?
Yeah, I can.
You can't? Well, in the record industry, you can't.
Now here's what Prince had been on and on about. Whoever owns the master owns the music. It's like owning land. If you own the land, you can rent it, sell it, build on it, or do nothing at all. But if someone else owns it, they make the decisions, and you just live there. In the music world, most artists, especially early in their careers, sign contracts with record labels that give the label full ownership of the masters. That means the artist doesn't control where the song is used, how much it's licensed for, or even whether it's re-released. And when the money comes in, the label eats first. The artist might get a small cut, but they're never truly in charge. Prince actively fought for this, and that was his key words if you did listen to him in his lifetime. To understand why that moment hit so hard for him, you need to understand Prince's fight. In the 1990s, Prince did something unheard of. He went to war with his record label, Warner Brothers, over the rights to his masters. At the time, Prince had become one of the biggest names in the world, but despite his success, he did not own his music. He wrote it, played it, produced it, sang it, lived it, but he didn't own it.
So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise.
So Prince pushed back. When Warner Brothers refused to give him control, Prince did the unthinkable. He changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol, a literal symbol. He walked around with the word slave written on his face during performances. He stopped responding to Prince and insisted on being called the artist formerly known as Prince. People thought he was crazy, eccentric, dramatic. He fought relentlessly to gain control over his music, challenging record label contracts that exploited artists, and openly calling the music business what it truly was for many, a modern-day plantation. But he wasn't doing it for attention. He was making a statement. If you don't own your masters, you don't own your music. And if you don't own your music, you don't own your legacy. Prince went on to release music independently, building his own distribution system, even selling albums directly to fans with concert tickets. He was ahead of his time before streaming, before social media. He understood the power of going direct. He eventually regained control of his masters, but more than that, he set a standard. He showed artists that you could say no, that you could fight back. His infamous interviews and public protests, even writing slip on his face, made it clear he wasn't afraid to speak the uncomfortable truth. Sooner or later, he evolved, as he wasn't just going after the idea of bad deals or the faceless corporations anymore. He started naming names. He began pulling back the curtain on individuals who, in his eyes, were complicit in maintaining a system designed to strip artists of power. And one name that started to surface more than once, Sean Diddy Combs.
All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
Prince wasn't necessarily against Diddy's fame or success. In fact, he respected hustle and vision. But what disturbed him was how Diddy's affiliations, the partnerships he formed and the quiet alliances he built, were helping to reinforce the very structures Prince had spent decades trying to dismantle. He feared these moves were setting back progress for artists everywhere. To Prince, the issue wasn't about ownership anymore, it was about influence. Who had it, how they used it, and whether they were empowering artists or keeping them locked in the same old cycle with a prettier chain. Another thing that held Prince's concern was how the industries and record labels were not concerned with the contents of music, but more on the money they're making, despite the fact that value and norms are reduced.
There's a disintegration going on that we really have to address.
Chapter 5. Did DMX learn?
Only your masters. He explained how to gave him the symbol.
All about.
But the question remains, did DMX take that advice? Did he fight for his masters? Did he turn it all around? Sadly, the story doesn't end with a fairy tale comeback. As powerful as that moment with Prince was, it didn't immediately change the course of DMX's career. Not because he didn't want it, but because by then, a lot had already happened. DMX was already tangled deep in contracts, lawsuits, addiction battles, and bad deals made early in his career. You see, DMX came into the game fast and hard. In just under 3 years, he released 5 multi-platinum albums, a record still untouched by most rappers. But while the world saw the fame and the sales, behind the scenes, DMX wasn't seeing the money he deserved. He didn't own his masters. Most of his biggest hits, Rough Riders Anthem, Slippin', Party Up, were under the control of his record label. And once those masters are signed away in your early contracts, getting them back becomes a long, expensive, and often impossible fight. Even after his talk with Prince, DMX didn't have the financial or legal backing to reverse those early deals. And truth be told, the industry isn't built for artists to easily take their power back, especially when they're battling personal demons at the same time. Look at this. In 2013, DMX officially filed for bankruptcy. Court documents showed he had around $50,000 in assets and over $1 million in debt. That's a heartbreaking gap for someone whose music had generated millions for others. He owed money in child support, legal fees, and taxes. He also had trouble booking shows due to his legal history, which made it harder to rebuild his income. There were even reports that he didn't have full access to his own royalties. When artists don't own their masters, they rely on performance money and touring to survive. And when that's disrupted, whether due to addiction, prison time, or simply aging out the touring circuit, the financial foundation starts to crumble. This begs the question, what if DMX got his masters? DMX was never truly broken in the way people imagine, but he was broken in spirit. He said it himself multiple times. Money was never his motivation. He didn't rap to get rich, he rapped to be heard, to cry out, to make sense of his pain. But the industry he walked into was built around money, and when the check stopped, the world stopped listening. Although there's no confirmed report that DMX ever gained ownership of his masters before his death in 2021, most of his catalogs remained under Def Jam and Rough Riders. There were rumors and hopes that maybe his estate would work toward reclaiming them, but nothing official has been announced since. And that's the real tragedy. Not just that he died too soon, but that an artist who gave so much of himself never truly owned the thing he created even after meeting Prince. It's like painting a masterpiece and then being told you'll never get to hang it in your own house. Still, something did shift after Prince spoke to him. DMX began talking more openly about the business side of music. He warned younger artists about signing without reading. He spoke with more awareness. Even if he couldn't change his own situation, he tried to plant seeds for others. That's what makes Prince's message so powerful.
I wrote it, you know what I'm saying? I paid the for the beat. I paid you for loaning me the money, you know what I'm saying? I paid you back your money. Now we splitting because you loaned me the money, but you own my. I don't owe you a thing. Why is you holding on to my? And that's standard.
It wasn't just for DMX. It was for every artist standing tall and the ones coming up after him. Every kid with a mic and a dream, thinking the record deal is the end goal. Prince made DMX look inward, and DMX, in turn, started encouraging others to be more than just voices on wax. He wanted them to own their voices. In the end, the story of DMX and Prince isn't just about music. It's about legacy, about what we leave behind. Prince showed DMX that being a gangsta isn't just about surviving the streets. It's about surviving the industry, about protecting your art, about holding your name with pride, even when the world wants to buy and sell it like a product. DMX may not have lived long enough to own it all, but he lived long enough to understand. And sometimes, that shift in mindset, that awakening, is the real deal.
Coming up, which is a documentary about P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy. Yeah. Did he do it, right? You've been heavy on social media talking about it.
And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually.
Oh, you've been saying this for a long time now. And then no one was, they're just, why is he saying this? And now it's coming out like crazy.
But I also did participate. I also didn't go to the party.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture don't saying anything is because they participated.
And 50 Cent sells Diddy Doc to Netflix. Ladies and gentlemen.
50 Cent is set to shake things up with an upcoming Netflix documentary that promises to turn heads across the entertainment world. Reports suggest it could unveil powerful insights surrounding Diddy, and it's already generating major buzz. Emotional reactions and curious timing are only adding fuel to the fire. With a long-standing legacy at stake, Diddy might be facing a shift in public perception. One thing's clear, 50's move isn't just chatter, it's a bold statement, and the entire hip-hop scene is watching closely.
There's so many videos on Diddy, that are resurfacing, but an actual documentary, and I don't know if there's going to be like something with 50 Cent voice narrating. I don't know, but it's going to be bad. I would advise everybody to tune in who really don't really understand and what, how far back this goes with Diddy. From when people were speaking out earlier on him. I know it's going to have stuff on Tupac, Biggie, all that, but we're going to check this video out here, man. 50 Cent be trolling, but this is the ultimate right here. Top tier. Let's jump right into it.
Days after a damning surveillance video showed Diddy abusing his ex, a documentary is closer to becoming a reality.
Now let's bring in TMC's Michael Babcock. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing all right. So tell us what's going on with this. We understand rapper 50 Cent has been shopping this around.
Yeah, and you know what? I think a lot of people thought that 50 was just trolling, and if anyone follows 50 on Twitter or Instagram, he's no stranger to that. He definitely, engages in trolling and makes a lot of jokes. So when he had, repeatedly taken shot after shot after shot at Diddy and then said, hey, I'm working on a documentary, I think a lot of people thought that he was just joking around. It turns out he's not. So this is actually a real project that's being made under his G-Unit movie and TV studio, and he's made a bunch of really successful projects under that banner. They were actually selling it around to different streaming, organizations, including Netflix. Netflix ultimately had the most money, placed the winning bid, and at some point here in the future, we don't know exactly when, but this is actually going to be something that airs on Netflix.
So, and think about this: everything hasn't even came out yet. So I'm just wondering, they're probably going to wait to see if I'm guessing to wait to see if he goes to jail or what, because I feel like they need more, not more evidence, but just, with the whole raid and stuff. I'm just wondering what else is going to come out that they're going to add to that. Yeah, there's no way this dude is coming back from this. 50 Cent.
Many people may not know, the two of them have had beef for decades. 50 Cent has kept his foot on Diddy's neck for decades.
Foot on his neck.
Absolutely. They once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down. Diddy really, is not in a position right now to fire back at 50 Cent. So, he's taken a lot of abuse, and I don't know that anyone feels sorry for P. Diddy right now. To be honest.
No, I don't think so either, and it's certainly not going to end anytime soon.
You're right about that. Man, that's probably going to be one of the most watched, because I'm just thinking about all the information that they're going to gather and how many people are going to be tied into this. How many people right now are kind of just like, oh no, because 50 be getting on everybody when he be trolling. So it's like, I know a lot of people are probably just shaking in their boots right now. I just think that when Diddy approached 50 with the stuff that he says, like, I want to take you shopping and all that, 50 was like, wait, hold on. So, and some guys he probably took shopping before, and they, at the beginning, they probably thought it was Diddy doing something nice until they got a knock at the door or something like that. And Diddy, I'm here to collect. So my whole thing is once this come out, if it goes through and falls through, it's gonna be bad. Whatever we seen so far, all the stuff you want to gather, whatever we seen, it's probably gonna be a million times worse.
This goes beyond music beef. 50 Cent and Diddy once shared the spotlight, even making chart-topping tracks together. But now 50 is setting his sights higher with a Netflix documentary that hints at deeper revelations. His cryptic messages have fans speculating, and Diddy's recent emotional appearance has only intensified the buzz. Something big is building, and it might just shake the foundation of the industry.
Diddy doing funny things. There's the whole where 50 Cent tells the story about how Diddy offered to take him shopping.
Right.
And there's also the time where he made Fabulous real uncomfortable while Diddy was calling some other dude daddy and telling Fabulous, yo, why don't you party with me? And, trying to get Fabulous to party with him, What do you think about these little looks into the past about how Diddy was acting?
I see a lot of, I would call epics, these little commercials, these little cartoon things. South Park, that popped up with the devil talking about, I don't want to do it if Diddy did it. Did you ever see that on South Park?
I haven't seen that one yet. No.
Yeah, 50 ended up posting it, but I'm a South Park fan, so I already knew about that one. You know what I'm saying? So that was on. Was that on South Park? Yeah, that was on South. Yeah, South Park. Yes, yeah, so I'm like, I'm a South Park fan, so I'm looking at that. So, and I say that this guy could have went down in history as one of the greatest producers that put together some of the greatest music in the 90s and having arguably one of the top greatest rappers in hip hop in his camp. For the people to make him the laughing stock of hip hop, the laughing stock of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, is one of the greatest tragedies of our time. It's crazy what he has become to the media.
Can you separate his music from his personal life?
You know the man through his music. So you can't separate his personal life from the music.
Why do you think he was offering to take 50 Cent shopping?
I can't really offer that, bro. I can't really answer that. I don't know why, but just on some sucker shit, probably. You know what I'm saying? Trying to play 50. You know 50. Come on, bro. 50 was rich at the time. 50 used to do music for him. Why he never asked him then when he was doing music for him? You understand? Just talking shit, want to have something to say. Knowing 50 hot.
We now? That's what everyone's asking as 50 Cent sets his focus on Diddy. Some believe it's financial, others point to old tensions, but one thing's certain, 50 is not pulling any punches. This isn't casual drama, it's about reputation, influence, and long-buried truths. Known for going all in against his rivals, 50 seems locked in, and the hip-hop world is on edge. Once this documentary hits, it could shift everything or turn out to be his boldest move yet.
New York, just like Mount Vernon, New York City, Mount Vernon, and Miami, all that is the same, bro. Nobody wants to be near him. Nobody wants to touch what he touched, be where he at. You understand? It's crazy, bro, how his fall from grace, which was never from grace. It's just like the devil just kicked him out of hell. Because he was never in nothing graceful and did anything graceful. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you say about, okay, he did the music, he had the bad boy legacy and everything like that, man. But, you know, a few albums, a few people, you know, made to be famous, but they not here to tell their story. Black Rob, Biggie, Craig Mack. They not here to tell their story, bro. And now you got everybody telling his story.
Yeah, and I know 50, he did a recent interview with US Weekly saying that the reason why rappers are quiet about, you know, Diddy's situation is because they've been to his parties and they don't know what got caught on tape.
Bruh, those people who was caught at Diddy party did not know that he had 250 tape recorders in that house. That's a big house. But he had 250 tape recorders in that house that they took, that the feds found. So now with them finding all that and you being at a Diddy party, you know you may have done something that was caught on one of those tapes. You just better pray to God that they don't recognize you. Those people who know that they did something, no, they're not going to speak out. They're not going to say nothing. What part of the game is that? They are not going to come forward and tell on themselves. Nah, not at all. Ice Cube, he said it himself, bro. He said that Diddy's been targeted because of what he said about those folks and those people. Now, the people who was on those tapes may feel like Diddy might be targeting them. Because if he's asked about who is this, who is that, and he's under oath with the federal government, he got to tell them. He's not going to plead the fifth.
Yeah, I know that got to be a terrible feeling, man. You know you did something wrong at Diddy party, and you hoping and praying that it's not caught on tape.
But they don't think they did nothing wrong. That's their lifestyle. That's their lifestyle, bro. I ask guys all the time, if two men lay down, how many homos get up? What you mean? I mean what I mean. It's what it is.
Buzz around 50 Cent's upcoming documentary is hitting hard, and the entire industry is on edge. Whispers about Diddy have surfaced before, but this moment feels different, like 50 is not just stirring controversy. He's about to flip the script. Talk of legal drama, behind the scenes moves, and long hidden stories is spreading fast. From artist conflicts to business questions, the signs have lingered for years, and now 50 might be the one to bring it all into the light. If there's truth to the chatter, this could reshape everything we thought we knew about a major hip-hop icon.
After a damning surveillance video showed Diddy abusing his ex, a documentary is closer to becoming a reality.
Now let's bring in TMC's Michael Babcock. Good morning to you, Michael.
Morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing all right. So tell us what's going on with this. We understand rapper 50 Cent has been shopping this around.
Yeah, and you know what? I think a lot of people thought that 50 was just trolling, and if anyone follows 50 on Twitter or Instagram, he's no stranger to that. He definitely, engages in trolling and makes a lot of jokes. So when he had, repeatedly taken shot after shot after shot at Diddy and then said, hey, I'm working on a documentary, I think a lot of people thought that he was just joking around. It turns out he's not. So this is actually a real project that's being made under his G-Unit movie and TV studio, and he's made a bunch of really successful projects under that banner. They were actually selling it around to different streaming, organizations, including Netflix. Netflix ultimately had the most money, placed the winning bid, and at some point here in the future, we don't know exactly when, but this is actually going to be something that airs on Netflix.
So many people may not know. I mean, the two of them have had beef for decades. 50 Cent has kept his foot on Diddy's neck for decades.
Absolutely. Like they once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down. Diddy really, is not in a position right now to fire back at 50 Cent. So he's taken a lot of abuse, and I don't know that anyone feels sorry for P. Diddy right now.
So you think decades in the spotlight would have exposed everything, but it looks like we've barely seen the beginning. Recent legal headlines may be tied directly to what 50 Cent's gearing up to uncover. And it's not just Diddy. Rumors suggest other major names could be pulled into the spotlight too. His recent emotional moments haven't gone unnoticed, fueling speculation that he sees the storm coming but can't outrun it. Even if part of what's being whispered is true, this documentary could shake his entire legacy, music, business, and beyond.
They knew that was going to happen. You understand? There's no way, based on the evidence that the prosecutor presented, that the judge was going to allow him to be bonded out on the first get-go. Now, if he comes up with some more hearings, he might be released. But based on the evidence, they've been following him, bro. They've been tapping his phone, been having people watch him. You understand? he been coming back and forth from New York, and he don't usually be coming back to New York. And somebody was telling me that, yo, listen here, yo, he trying to get witnesses. Remember when they released that first thing of Cassie, and I said that Diddy was trying to contact people for character witnesses, people for who he had problems with before, whatever like that, and trying to talk to them in the whole 9 yards. That's when they dropped that thing with Cassie. The Homeland Security had some agency or whatever like that that deals with that, dropped that thing on Cassie to show everybody, oh, y'all want to help him? Y'all, this is what y'all want to help? This is who y'all want to, say that he ain't never did nothing. This is what you want to put your brand on? And everybody started backing up from him. Everybody was talking about, yo, man, Cassie was a gold digger. Cassie was this, that, and the third. She loved it in the whole 9 yards. And then when they seen that, all his friends or so-called friends, went away. So him not having a bond is not surprising.
Yeah, and he offered them $50 million, and they still denied his bond.
He should have waited to see what they was going to offer. Because if he got $50 million to get him and offer that, then they think like, yo, that's too little of a money.
And you right about Diddy phone being tough, because news came out that his former bandmate from Dirty Money, she called the other group member Dunn 58 times trying to get her to stop the lawsuit against Diddy.
She ain't the only one he was trying to get in contact with. You understand? He sent somebody through somebody else to try to get in contact with me, telling me enough is enough. Oh, okay. You tell Big Mama that enough is enough. You can't tell Wolf Mama enough is enough. You tell D Ferg Mama enough is enough. You understand? You tell all those people who supported you and they survivors.
She is 50 Cent builds anticipation for his explosive documentary. Diddy appears to be undervisible. Strain, recently seen in an uncharacteristically emotional state, eyes tired, demeanor off, it caught fans off guard. Known for keeping composure, this shift has people asking, what's really going on? Some believe the weight of what's coming may finally be catching up to him. He's weathered tough times before, but this one feels unlike any storm he's faced.
You didn't tell me about this. So he tried to get somebody to reach out to you?
No, I got a phone call from Kirk Burrows. And Kirk Burrows, and I ain't gonna even get this guy no play. Not Kirk Burrows, but one of the tough dudes that I know that's real close to him said, Kirk told me, yo, he want to reach out to you, Gene. He want to speak to you. I said, speak to me for what? What do you want to speak to me for? If he's trying to speak to me, it's for Puff. Point blank. I know the dude. I know how close he is to Puff. He's been with Puff from day one. So he ain't got nothing to say to me, bro. But Kirk Burrows did say to me that the dude said enough is enough. When do it becomes enough? Yo, because, bro, listen, I didn't ask to be put in this situation. You understand? And a lot of people ain't going to understand this, because a lot of people wouldn't give up what I've given up to this situation. You understand? My whole thing about it is, when you lean on right, you ain't gonna never turn to wrong. And my whole thing about it is that Puff wasn't right what he did to people around us, man. He wasn't right what he did to people around us. Him being hard-headed, not listening, and not telling the truth and constantly lying cost a lot of people their lives, man. It cost a lot of people their lives. I want him to understand. When I told him, if we don't do something to these doors, people gonna die tonight. And forget, and I want to say F what other people say. Everybody know I told him that. Our whole crew know I told him that. from Slick to Nord, Bunny, Big Boy, Eddie, all the people that was with us that night know I told them that. 9 people end up dead. Everybody know I told him. Not everybody, but Paul was there. D-Rock. Some of the Bad Boy street teams. If we go to this party tonight, somebody gonna die. I got intel from 2 top gangsters. From a dude rolling with Jodeci. I got intel, bro. We go to the party, somebody gonna die. Big's music, I hate to hear it. You understand what I'm saying? Because I know what I did. I know what I said. They know what I said. So it don't hurt me. It's a feeling that you get when you know something didn't have to happen that day. And I was never play. I'm playing with people. I joke and I tease, I talk about you and everything like that. But if I come to the table something that's real, respect that. And it became a part where the respect was gone anytime that, and it probably don't have nothing to do with me. There was ulterior motives that took Big to that party, bro. There were other motives that took Big to that party that led him not being here today.
Some believe the story goes beyond 50 Cent's documentary. Rumors point to financial stress, personal challenges, and even health concerns. Diddy's recent emotional moments have left fans wondering if the pressure is starting to crack his carefully managed image. Instead of stepping back, he's been visibly shaken in public, stirring speculation that something deeper is unfolding. Witnesses say he seemed genuinely rattled before breaking down, adding to theories that 50 might be holding more powerful revelations than anyone expected. Once seen as fully in control, Diddy now appears caught in a moment he can't manage, and with the documentary still on the horizon, this might only be the start.
Behind the scenes, but in the open at the same time, you know what I mean? Like if you run in certain circles, there's things that you've heard for years. Maybe not necessarily on a criminal level, but there's a lot of stuff that I've heard, that could involve baby oil and all that type of shit, where I've been hearing that shit for years, bro, since the 90s, bro. I've been hearing about like bisexual type of shit since the 90s. You heard? That's what I've been hearing. But not the freak offs per se. Nah, I didn't necessarily know about that. Because Puffy used to be known as like a good party promoter. Like he would have parties in New York. Him and this lady, Jessica Rosenblum. And they used to have very, a lot of celebrities would go to their parties, would be a lot of chicks there. And, they'd have the good parties, like, at different venues around the city. And when they was the promoter, you would know that, okay, that might be a party you want to go to because it's going to be popping. But it wasn't any kind of like, there was no signs of no freak off type of shit. This is shit that happened later when he's having parties at his mansions and shit like that. Like, I only know him for going to those parties that were out in the public. See what I'm saying? That's the only Diddy party I ever been to, was out in public, and there was no freak off shit. There was no outwardly gay shit going on or anything like that.
So that's been going around since the 90s, him being bisexual?
I heard that's why he had got fired from Uptown. That he got caught in a precarious act, doing something real baby oil-ish in the office. You know, now I'm not gonna get into the rumor of who the other dude was, but y'all heard the rumor, and homeboy, you know, the other dude says it's not true, but I don't know. I'm just saying that was the rumor since back then.
Yeah, somebody told me about how they walked in on Diddy getting fellatio from another man.
Yep.
Wow, dude. But speaking of baby oil, how you feel about the feds finding over 1,000 bottles of baby oil?
Of baby oil and lubricant. Don't forget, they said and lubricant. So you gotta, you know, maybe could have been 500 and 500. I don't know, you know, but it's a slippery slope, Art. Like, you know, it's a very slippery slope when it comes to baby oil, you know. I don't know why you would need. First of all right, as a man, if you know about the anatomy of a woman and you know how to get her in the right frame of mind, no oils are needed. She's self-lubricating. Okay? So that leads me to believe that's for something else. For something else that needed moisturizing. These niggas is out here practicing sex magic, and they're trying to shatter people's chakras, shatter their lower chakra. Okay, that's what we're gonna call it. He likes to shatter people's chakras. I think men and women, and that's where the baby oil and the lubrication comes into play. Or here's another reason why you might need baby oil and all that. If you're giving people slipping the Mickeys and shit like that, right? And you knocking them out.
50E's documentary looming and Diddy under growing pressure. The entire hip-hop scene is on edge. This isn't just a rivalry, it could mark a turning point. Are we seeing the rise of documentaries as the new diss tracks? If 50E's claims hold weight, others could be pulled into the spotlight. This might be the beginning of a shift where long-guarded secrets surface and the industry faces a new wave of accountability.
Grizzly is having it rough. He was just linked to the murder of his aunt after years of
We was about to resubscribe to, but why?
That was 2 clicks.
T Grizzly is having it rough. He was just linked to the murder of his aunt after years of claiming it was a hit gone wrong.
What happened? They walked up to my door and opened my door. You know what I'm saying? Some niggas opened my door trying to get at me. He ended up hitting her up.
Now, word is he's been attacked in jail, and it wasn't just because of the murder. Inmates allegedly found out about his rumored intimate relationship with his aunt. Let's break it down. The Jobina Brown murder conspiracy. T Grizzly, real name Terry Wallace Jr., started this year thinking he was in the clear. His aunt, Jobina J.B. Brown, was murdered back in 2019, and the alleged killer, Jermaine Whedon, had finally been caught. But as the trial of Whedon, known in Chicago's Deadly 600 crew as Wu Thang, unfolded in July 2025, the street started whispering something darker, because what came out in court wasn't just about a shooter. The prosecution painted a picture so damning it had the courtroom shook. Cell phone records placed Whedon near the crime scene, and when Chicago police caught him months later, he was riding dirty with the exact .40 caliber Glock that ballistics matched to the shell casings found at the scene. But that's when things got real twisted, real fast. Word started circulating that this wasn't just some random Chicago shooter trying to make a name for himself in Detroit. This was allegedly a hit, orchestrated by the very person who should have been protecting Jobina Brown. According to court documents and witness testimony, the defense claimed that T Grizzly orchestrated the entire hit, allegedly motivated by some twisted family drama that would make a soap opera writer jealous. They painted a picture of a man so desperate to escape a situation that he was willing to cross the ultimate line, betraying the very person who lifted him up when he was down. But here's where it gets even more twisted. The defense wasn't just throwing around wild accusations for the sake of getting their client off. They had receipts, phone records allegedly showing communications between T. Grizzly and the Chicago crew, bank records supposedly showing cash withdrawals that matched the alleged payment. Even more damning, there were claims of Uber dashcam footage that allegedly showed T. Grizzly exiting the vehicle moments before the shooting went down, only to flee in a blue Camaro with Chicago plate. The streets had been whispering about this for years, but when Trap Laura Ross and other YouTube investigators started putting the pieces together, the picture became crystal clear. The connection between T. Grizzly and Chicago's 600 crew wasn't some secret industry collaboration. This was allegedly business, the kind of business that ends lives and destroys families. The same crew that had ties to OTF, the same streets that had claimed so many lives, had allegedly been hired to take out Detroit's own. What made this whole situation even more suspicious was the family dynamics that were slowly being exposed. Jobina Brown wasn't T. Grizzly's blood aunt. She was his uncle's wife. And according to police sources who spoke to investigators, there were allegations of an inappropriate relationship that had developed while his uncle was locked up. The timeline was damning. Uncle gets sentenced to 9 years. 3 months later, he's allegedly getting intimate with his wife. And not long after that, she ends up dead in a hail of bullets. But the streets weren't buying T. Grizzly's version of events, and neither was law enforcement.
I was told the police chief looked T. Grizzly in his eyes and told him, I know you involved somehow.
The fact that Whedon had been posted up at the location for 2 hours before T. Grizzly and Jobina even arrived raised too many red flags. How does a Chicago shooter know exactly where to be and when to be there unless someone on the inside is feeding him information? The response from T. Grizzly's camp was swift but not convincing enough for the streets. When the rumors exploded in July 2025, addressed them in a live stream, calling the allegations nasty work and claiming they were completely false. But his decision to invoke the Fifth Amendment when subpoenaed to testify in Whedon's trial spoke volumes to those who were watching closely. Innocent men don't typically refuse to testify when it comes to finding justice for their murdered family members. The fan reaction was as divided as a city during a gang war. Loyal supporters rallied to his defense, viewing the rumors as nothing more than clout-chasing lies designed to tear down a successful black man. They pointed to his public mourning, his tribute song, Saddish, and his obvious grief as evidence that he could never have been involved in such a heinous act. These fans argued that the internet had created a conspiracy theory out of thin air, fueled by jealousy and the need for drama in the rap community. But on the other side of the fence, longtime observers of the Detroit rap scene weren't so easily convinced. They pointed to inconsistencies in his story, his continued association with members of the 600 crew, even after one of their own was arrested for his aunt's murder, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding the entire incident. These fans felt betrayed, wondering if the man they had supported through his legal troubles and celebrated for his comeback was capable of something so unthinkable. What made the situation even more explosive was the revelation of his continued friendship with Booker 600, a prominent member of the same Chicago crew that Whedon claimed allegiance to. Photos surfaced of Booker 600 serving as a groomsman in T. Grizzly's wedding, raising questions about how deep these connections really ran. If your aunt's killer came from a crew that you're still tight with, what does that say about your involvement in the situation? The streets remember everything, and they remember the old Detroit Hits Instagram post from years ago that predicted exactly this scenario. Anonymous sources had been whispering about 600's involvement in Jobina Brown's murder since it happened, but most people dismissed it as gossip and speculation. Now, with Whedon on trial and the evidence piling up, those old rumors were looking more like inside information. Perhaps the most damning aspect of this entire conspiracy was the motive that investigators had uncovered. The allegation that Jobina Brown was pregnant at the time of her death, though later disproven by autopsy results, revealed the mindset of those allegedly involved in planning her murder. Even if the pregnancy was a false rumor, the fact that the shooters believed it and used it as justification for their actions showed the level of planning and personal motivation behind the hit. As the trial dragged on and more evidence came to light, one thing became crystal clear. The man who rapped about backdoors and betrayal might have been living that reality more literally than fans ever imagined. But for those who've been paying attention, this isn't T. Grizzly's first run-in with the law, and it might not be his last. The making of a street legend behind bars. T. Grizzly's criminal journey began in 2014 when he and his accomplice Jeremy Ford decided that Michigan State University's dormitories were their personal shopping mall. They weren't just stealing laptops and gaming consoles, they were stealing dreams, futures, and the hard-earned money that students' families had scraped together for education. $20,000 worth of electronics and cash disappeared into their hands, but what they thought was easy. Money became the first domino in a series that would crash down on their heads like a building demolition.
Yeah, we got a warrant out for your arrest. Your friend just turned herself in.
When that phone call came through while he was on his way to Kentucky, Terry knew his world was about to change forever. But instead of facing the music like a man, he made a decision that would haunt him through concrete corridors and steel-barred windows for years to come. July 1st, 2014 became the day that desperation overrode common sense when he walked into that Lexington, Kentucky jewelry store with nothing but bad intentions and a heart full of fear.
I pulled a hammer out, hit the glass. See all the Rolex. Before I can even grab one of them, I hear freeze.
That moment when he heard freeze wasn't just law enforcement stopping a robbery. It was reality checking his entire life trajectory with the force of a sledgehammer. The Kentucky sentence hit him with 9 months that felt like 9 years, locked up with hardened criminals who had been playing this game since before he was born. But Kentucky was just the appetizer. Michigan was waiting with the main course, and it was going to be a feast of consequences that would either break him or build him into something unrecognizable. The extradition back to Michigan came with a second-degree home invasion charge that carried a potential sentence of up to 15 years. 15 years. That's a lifetime for someone who hadn't even lived 2 decades on this earth. But Terry wasn't going down without a fight, and his weapons weren't fists or contraband. They were law books, legal precedents, and a mind sharp enough to find loopholes in a system designed to swallow young black men whole.
We finding cases similar to ours, or we ain't never make it out to juries though, so they can't call it a robbery. It's destruction of property at the most.
His time studying those law books wasn't just about reducing his sentence. It was about survival in an environment where weakness could get you killed and ignorance could keep you locked up forever. He challenged the classification of weapons, argued legal technicalities, and proved that a young man from Detroit's roughest neighborhoods could outthink lawyers who had spent years in law school. The system tried to crush him, but instead of breaking, he adapted, evolved, and learned to use their own rules against them. But legal victories couldn't protect him from the daily reality of prison life, where violence was as common as breathing, and respect was earned through blood and reputation. The walls of facilities like St. Louis Correctional Facility, Macomb Correction Facility, and Jackson State Prison became his universities, teaching him lessons that no classroom could ever provide. Every day was a test of his character, his strength, and his will to survive in an environment designed to strip away everything that made him.
I'm redecorating my moon vacation home.
Hover yacht repairman. Am I right? Hey, Jerry! How are you? Hey, Dan. Have you noticed? Everybody else here got like super rich.
So how did you two meet?
There was love at first sight. Everyone here bought crypto the smart way with Alto Crypto IRA.
What's Alto Crypto IRA again?
They offer a self-directed IRA where you can invest in crypto and get all the tax benefits of an IRA while locking in long-term crypto gains.
Is there something I missed?
Oh, actually there was something.
And those are the traditional retirement options.
Mrs. Johnson, can I go to the bathroom?
Sure, Jerry. Okay, here's a real secret. You can go to altocryptoira.com to set up a retirement account so you can get all of the tax benefits of an IRA when you invest in cryptocurrency.
Is that investment advice?
No, this is not financial advice. And for those of you at home, cryptocurrency is a volatile asset with a high risk of loss.
Oh, man! Should have bought Bitcoin.
That's what you said 20 years ago, man.
I should have bought Bitcoin!
That's what you said 10 years ago.
I should have bought Bitcoin!
That's what you said back in college.
Oh, yeah.
So an individual retirement account, or IRA, means that when you invest, you pay taxes up front or at the time of withdrawal from the account.
So I can pay taxes when I add cash to a Roth account and withdraw it tax-free during retirement after my investments grow?
Exactly. And you can trade regularly without incurring taxes on each transaction. And that could save you 15 to 20% of your earnings.
That would have been great to know.
With Alto Crypto IRA, Bitcoin isn't just a novelty. They let me treat crypto as a wealth-generating asset.
Alto Crypto is self-directed, so you can trade freely over 200 cryptocurrencies without paying taxes each time.
Does that mean I can play the long game on Bitcoin and take short-term risks with smaller coins?
The type of investments you make are up to you. Alto Crypto IRA gives you the liberty to trade coins on an easy-to-use platform after a paperless sign-up, all with the tax advantages of an IRA. You all are so smart, unlike Jerry. So, if you save and work hard, you should be able to retire comfortably.
Why did Mrs. Johnson hate me so much?
Don't you remember?
Who did this?
You just got jerry-rigged!
I will get my revenge.
It was just a prank, bro. She, died with that grudge?
Actually, with all that she saved in taxes with her Alto Crypto IRA, she was able to participate in those crowd trials. In fact,
she's here tonight. What? 115 and not a day over 50. She even got laser eye surgery. Start building your crypto portfolio today at altocryptoira.com. Control your crypto, control your future.
Get back here, Jerry!
Stop buying courses. But first things first, let me build your store free today and then give you my courses complete.
Him human. The fights were inevitable, sparked by everything from food disputes to respect challenges to simple misunderstandings that escalated into life or death situations. In prison, your reputation followed you from cell block to cell block, from mealtime to yard time, and one sign of weakness could mark you as prey for predators who had nothing left to lose. Terry learned to stand his ground without starting unnecessary conflicts, to project strength without inviting challenges, and to navigate the complex social hierarchies that kept the peace in places where chaos was always one incident away.
I'm like, I ain't never getting up. I'm writing rap for rap.
The transformation from Terry to T Grizzly happened somewhere between the concrete walls and steel bars, in the quiet moments when despair threatened to consume him, and hope seemed like a luxury he couldn't afford. Music became his escape, his therapy, and eventually his salvation. Writing lyrics wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline thrown to a drowning man, and he grabbed it with both hands and held on like his life depended on it. His release on October 16, 2016, after serving approximately 28 months total, should have been the end of his story with the criminal justice system. Parole conditions included restrictions on travel, associations, and activities that could have derailed his music career before it even started. But freedom came with its own set of challenges, and the August 23, 2018 parole violation proved that the streets were still calling, even when success was within reach. That 5-day stint in the Detroit Reentry Center might have been brief, but it served as a stark reminder of how quickly freedom could be snatched away. The charges weren't disclosed publicly, but the message was clear. Even successful rappers weren't above the law, and past mistakes could come back to haunt you when you least expected it. His completion of probation in late 2018 marked the official end of his legal obligations, but the psychological scars and hard-learned lessons would stay with him forever. Understanding T Grizzly's criminal history means understanding the environment that created him, and that environment was shaped by a childhood that would break most people before they reached their teens. Born into a world where parents disappeared into the system like ghosts and violence was as common as sunrise, Terry's early years were a masterclass in survival against impossible odds. His grandmother became his anchor in a sea of chaos, providing the stability that his parents couldn't offer from behind prison walls. When his mother, LaToya Perry, was sentenced to 20 years for drug trafficking in 2011, Terry was still a teenager trying to figure out his place in a world that seemed determined to destroy him. The weight of that abandonment, combined with the constant struggle to survive in Detroit's unforgiving streets, created a perfect storm of desperation and determination. The murder of his father in 2012 removed the last male role model from his life, leaving him to navigate manhood without a compass or guide. Death and incarceration had stolen his family piece by piece, and the teenager who should have been worried about homework and girlfriends was instead concerned with putting food on the table and staying alive in neighborhoods where both were daily challenges. His academic success, despite these circumstances, showed a young man capable of greatness, but circumstances have a way of overwhelming even the strongest individuals. Being the first in his family to attend college should have been a celebration, but financial pressures at Michigan State University turned what should have been an opportunity into another source of stress and desperation. The transition from promising college student to convicted felon wasn't inevitable, but it was predictable given the circumstances. When legal means of survival seem impossible and illegal means offer immediate solutions, young men make desperate choices that alter the trajectory of their entire lives. Terry's choices led him down a path that millions of young black men have walked before him, and the fact that he emerged from that path transformed rather than destroyed speaks to a strength that prison couldn't break. His relationship with Maisha Agnew, whom he married in 2023, represents the possibility of redemption and growth that comes from surviving the worst that life can offer. Their son, Terry Wallace III, born in 2021, gives him a reason to stay on the straight and narrow that goes beyond personal success or artistic achievement. Family has always been his weakness and his strength, and now he has a family of his own to protect and provide for. His brother Marcellus, baby Grizzly Wallace's ongoing legal troubles, serve as a reminder that escaping the cycle of crime and incarceration isn't easy for anyone from their environment. While T Grizzly managed to channel his experiences into music and success, his brother's path shows how easily things could have gone differently. how quickly success can be overshadowed by past mistakes and present choices. The man who emerged from those prison walls wasn't the same scared teenager who walked in, and the transformation would prove to be the foundation for about paying a debt to society. It was about discovering who he was. What he found there would fuel a music career that would inspire millions, while simultaneously raising questions about the thin line between redemption and relapse. But as Terry Wallace Jr. transformed into T. Grizzly, the lessons learned in concrete cells and steel-barred windows would become the raw material for a musical legacy, establish him as one of Detroit's most authentic voices, even as that same authenticity would later be called into question when family from cell, the musical evolution of changed man. The studio booth became T. Grizzly's new cell, and the walls were constructed from beats that hit harder than officer's baton ever could. His release from prison on October 16, 2016, marked the beginning of a musical journey that would transform first day out. When Terry Wallace Jr. officially died and T. Grizzly was reborn through the alchemy of pain, experience, and raw talent. Recorded just hours after walking carried weight 27 slip away again.
That shit had 250,000 views. Like a week.
Wasn't numbers on a screen. It was validation from the streets, confirmation that his story resonated with people who had lived similar struggles, and proof that authenticity could cut through the noise of industry politics and manufactured personas. When LeBron James posted the song on his Instagram, it wasn't just a celebrity endorsement. It was a cosign from greatness, a signal to the industry that this young man from Detroit had something special that couldn't be ignored or replicated. The record deal with 300 Entertainment and Atlantic Records in 2017 represented more than just financial security. It was vindication for every night spent writing rhymes in a prison cell, every day spent studying law instead of giving up, and every moment when hope seemed like a luxury he couldn't afford. But this wasn't just another rapper getting signed. This was the emergence of a voice that spoke for everyone who had been counted out, written off, and left for dead by a system designed to keep them down. The collaborative mixtape Blood A's with Lil Durk in December 2017 represented more than just two rappers working together. It was a meeting of minds from different cities who shared similar experiences with the criminal justice system and the streets that shaped them. The chemistry between Detroit's rising star and Chicago's established voice created magic that couldn't be manufactured in focus groups or corporate boardrooms, proving that real recognizes real regardless of zip codes or area codes. His debut studio album Activated dropped on May 11, 2018. And peaked at #10 on the Billboard 200, establishing him as more than just a mixtape rapper or a social media sensation. This was legitimacy in its purest form, the kind of success that opened doors and created opportunities that most people from his background never get to see. But success came with its own set of challenges, and the pressure to maintain relevance while staying true to his roots would test him in ways that prison never could. Albums like Scriptures in 2019, Built for Whatever in 2021, and T's Coney Island in 2023 showed an artist in constant evolution, refusing to be boxed into the limitations that the industry often places on rappers from his background. Each project represented growth, maturity, and a willingness to explore different aspects of his personality and experiences while maintaining the core authenticity that made him special in the first place. The 2024 album Post Traumatic featured collaborations with J. Cole, Future, and YTB Fat, proving that his influence had grown to the point where some of the biggest names in hip-hop wanted to work with him. These weren't charity features or industry obligations. These were artistic partnerships between equals, recognition that T. Grizzly had earned his place at the table through talent, consistency, and the kind of authentic storytelling that can't be faked or manufactured. But 2025 would prove to be a defining year in his musical evolution, starting with the release of My God on May 9th, 2025. Produced by Helliva, the track represented a spiritual awakening, a man grappling with faith, success, and the weight of his past decisions. The lyrics, "Please stay focused, don't get tricked off the streets, you know so many depending on you," weren't just bars. They were prayers, affirmations, and reminders of the responsibility that comes with influence and success. Forever My Moment.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Smart Algo YouTube channel.
In this video, I'm going to walk through the features of the SmartGo Pro V3.
Released on May 16, 2025, represented the culmination of 8 years of dedication to his craft. The 14-track album, lasting 38 minutes, was a masterclass in efficiency and impact, with each song serving a specific purpose in the overall narrative. Tracks like Jalen Hurtsky, Rick Jameski, They Shot at Trump, Stash House in Dearborn, and Robbery 9 Inches showcased his ability to comment on current events, personal experiences, and street realities with equal skill and authenticity. His performance at Summerfest 2025 in Milwaukee proved that his appeal extended far beyond recording studios and streaming platforms. The 45-minute set kept the crowd energized, connecting with the Midwest audience in ways that only authentic artists can achieve. Sharing the stage with Milwaukee's own 414 Big Frank and Steve DeStoner, he demonstrated the kind of humility and respect for local scenes that separates real artists from industry products. His upcoming performance at Afrofuture Detroit on August 16, 2025, alongside international artists like K Tronada, Davido, Gims, and Ludmilla, represents more than just another festival booking. It's a homecoming for a man who never forgot where he came from, even as his success took him to stages around the world. The fact that his hometown continues to embrace him, despite all the controversies and legal troubles, speaks to the genuine connection he maintains with the streets that raised him. The Forever My Moment tour, spanning September and October 2025, with stops in Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, and other major cities, proves that his fan base extends far beyond the Midwest. These aren't just concerts, they're communions between an artist and audiences who see their own struggles reflected in his lyrics, their own dreams validated by his success, and their own potential proven by his transformation from convict to chart topper. But perhaps the most significant aspect of T Grizzly's musical evolution has been his ability to maintain authenticity while achieving commercial success. In an industry that often forces artists to choose between street credibility and mainstream appeal, he has managed to walk the tightrope with the same balance and precision that kept him alive in prison. His lyrics still reflect the realities of street life, but they also acknowledge the growth and maturity that comes from surviving those experiences and building something better. His gaming streams on Twitch, primarily playing Theft Auto 5, have allowed fans to see a different side of his personality, one that's relaxed, humorous, and genuinely enjoying life in ways that would have been impossible during his darkest days. These streams aren't just entertainment. They're proof that redemption is possible, that people can change, and that success doesn't have to come at the cost of your soul or your sense of fun. His collaborations with artists across different genres and backgrounds have shown his versatility and willingness to step outside his comfort zone while maintaining the core elements that make his music special. Whether he's trading bars with established superstars or supporting up-and-coming artists from his city, he approaches each collaboration with the professionalism and respect that comes from understanding the value of genuine artistic connections. The fact that his music continues to chart on the Billboard 200 years after his initial breakthrough proves that his appeal isn't based on novelty or shock value, but on the timeless qualities of authentic storytelling and genuine emotion. In an era where viral moments often fade as quickly as they appear, his sustained success represents something deeper and more meaningful than temporary internet fame. His tribute to Jobina Brown through the song Saddish remains one of his most emotionally powerful tracks, regardless of the controversies that would later surround their relationship. The raw pain in his voice, the genuine grief in his lyrics, and the love evident in every bar created a piece of art that transcended rap music and became a universal statement about loss, family, and the complexity of human relationships. But perhaps the most impressive aspect of T Grizzly's musical journey has been his ability to inspire others who find themselves in similar situations. His story of transformation from convict to successful artist has become a blueprint for young men and women who refuse to let their worst moments define their entire lives. His music serves as proof that redemption is possible, that talent combined with determination can overcome almost any obstacle, and that success achieved through struggle is sweeter than success handed to you on a silver platter. The studio sessions that once served as therapy for a man processing trauma and loss have evolved into creative laboratories where he continues to push the boundaries of his artistic expression. Each new release represents not just musical evolution, but personal growth, spiritual development, and the ongoing process of becoming the man he was meant to be, rather than the man his circumstances tried to make him. His marriage to my Aisha Agnew in 2023 and the birth of his son Terry Wallace III have added new dimensions to his music, bringing themes of fatherhood, responsibility, and legacy into songs that once focused primarily on survival and street credibility. The man who once rapped about having nothing to lose now has everything to protect, and that shift in perspective has added depth and maturity to his artistic expression. We've come to the end, fam. To stay up to date for street gossip, please be sure to click on the card showing on the screen.
Sunroof top, digging in the scene with the gangster leaning and we ain't coming down. See on my face that smile. See on my head that's crown. Top of the world, top of the town, baby.
I moved up the hood that had the church on the corner where I sit and talk shit all day cause I wanna. And on top of that, wasn't none of y'all gonna do nothing but keep running your mouth and keep frontin'. Go ahead and say something. I'll wait. I ain't gonna wait till late, 'cause in a minute I'm escape. 'Cause there is no debate. No, it's not an option. You gotta keep cock watch.
Sunroof top, digging in the scene with the gangster leaning